Chapter 56:11. According to the previous rules, the first place of the top 10 had the right to challenge the Big Four directly. The second and third place had the right to substitute for the challenge. Just like before, only if the first place succeeded in the challenge could the second place have the chance to continue the challenge. If the second place succeeded, then it would be the third place's turn. From the fourth place onwards, they didn't even have the right to substitute for the challenge. No matter what happened before, they had nothing to do with it. If the first place of the top 10 failed the challenge, then the others wouldn't have the right to challenge anymore. What was different from the top 10 challenges was that there was no such thing as using spiritual jades to participate in the challenge of the Big Four. If the first place failed the challenge, then the challenge of the Big Four would completely end. After the great elder of the ruins town announced the ranking of the top 10, he looked back at Tribulation Immortal and continued, "The ranking of the top 10 has ended. The immemorial grand meeting will rest for a day. After a day, the challenge between the top 10 and the Big Four will continue. The rules will be announced then. Everyone go back and rest." Lin Yi frowned slightly. He wanted to end the immemorial grand meeting as soon as possible and then join the sea beasts to find trouble with the center. Although there was still no news from Yu-E, the immemorial grand meeting could not be delayed like this. Xianijia happened to see Lin Yi's expression. Although he didn't go to the endless sea to participate in the battle on the island, Jin Weifeng had told Xianijia about it in detail. Even if he didn't know about the agreement between Lin Yi and the sea beasts, he knew that Lin Yi was now dissatisfied with the Big Four's delay. So after the great elder of the ruins town finished speaking, Xianijia directly said, "Why do we need to rest for a day? As the new leader of the top 10, we can challenge the Big Four now. As for rest, we will have plenty of time to rest after the immemorial grand meeting. Please start the challenge of the Big Four immediately." As the new leader of the 10 small sects, Qin Yin sect, the weight of Xianijia's words was no longer the same as before. If Xianijia had said this in the past, no one would have paid attention to him. After all, it was not a big deal to wait for another day. However, now that Xianijia had said this, a few sects immediately expressed their support, especially the Thousand Blades faction and the Snow Sword faction. After the Blue Clouds faction won the challenge, it would be their turn. Since Xianijia said this, of course they would support him. Anyway, they didn't spend much effort in the ranking competition. How dare you? Do you have the final say in the Primeval Assembly? This is the rule set by the Big Four. If anyone doesn't want to abide by it, they can leave the 10 small ones immediately, shouted the first elder of the ruins town. His face was filled with rage. However, in the eyes of the crowd, it was clear that he was putting on a brave front. Lin Yi sneered and said, "The rules set by the Big Four? All right, we will abide by the rules. But don't let me find out that someone doesn't follow the rules. When the time comes, perhaps it'll be time to form a new Big Four." If it wasn't for the trouble, Lin Yi could have just left the Qinkuan sect and the Five Elements sect and formed the Big Four and 10 small ones by himself. After all, the 10 small ones were all under Lin Yi's control, and so was the Shangguan clan. The Enlightening Heavens faction was neutral, but in other words, they were fence-sitters. Seeing how strong Lin Yi's side was, they would probably join his side. Lin Yi said this to warn the Qinkuan sect and the Five Elements sect not to play any tricks in the dark. Lin Yi could afford to wait for one day. After all, no matter how fast Yu-E was, he would need some time to come back after his investigation. Therefore, Lin Yi didn't want to waste any more time on this. It wouldn't be too late to end the Primeval Assembly tomorrow. Tribulation Crossing Master and Ma Zayden snorted and didn't say anything. They turned around and left. Cheetah looked at Lin Yi thoughtfully, smiled and followed them. Only Shangguan Qinyin ran over with a smile. She first congratulated Lin Yi and Xianijia, then chatted with them for a while before chasing after Tribulation Crossing Master and the other two. Shangguan Qinyin definitely had to attend the meeting of the Big Four, in case they came up with any bad ideas. She wouldn't be able to get the news in advance if she wasn't present. Everyone, do you have any opinion on the Big Four Challenge competition? The four of them came to a secret room and sat down. Tribulation Crossing Master said with a gloomy face. Ma Zayden sneered and said, "What opinion can I have? Everyone has seen the strength of the Blue Cloud sect. In the past, we have always been in an offensive and defensive alliance, not allowing new sects and families to be promoted. Will it still be the same this time?" While speaking, Ma Zayden turned around and stared at Shangguan Qinyan. Obviously, the Shangguan family was the black sheep among the Big Four, so it was a joke to talk about an offensive and defensive alliance. Shangguan Qinyan smiled and nodded at Ma Zayden, completely ignoring the hatred in the latter's eyes. That expression of, "I like to see you hate me, but can't get rid of me," made Ma Zayden even angrier, but there was nothing she could do. Cheetah picked up the tea that was just served and took a sip. Then he said, slowly, "The challenge from the Blue Cloud sect is unavoidable. The question is, which sect will the Blue Cloud sect challenge? Our Heaven's Awakening faction seems to have a high chance of winning, but unfortunately the most powerful person in the Heaven's Awakening faction is me. We don't have Sage Dunan, the #1 nascent soul cultivator in our faction, so the possibility of us being defeated is very high." Tribulation Crossing Master snorted and said, "Elder Chi, you are too modest. As long as you are not blind, you can see that the Blue Cloud sect will not challenge your Heaven's Awakening faction. Instead, our Qinkuan sect has the highest chance of winning. Sage Du Nan has been cultivating in seclusion. Although he has received my notice, I don't know if he can get here tomorrow. Elder Chi, are you prepared to see our Qinkuan sect become a joke?" Tribulation Crossing Master, you are being too serious. Cheetah quickly waved his hand and said with a smile, "Although there is competition between the four big sects, we are all in the same boat. Even if the Blue Cloud sect challenges the Qinkuan sect, do you think our Heaven's Awakening faction will have a good life after they get promoted?" Tribulation Crossing Master's face looked a little better. Although Cheetah's words seemed to imply that the Blue Cloud sect would definitely succeed in challenging the Qinkuan sect, in fact, he thought so in his heart, so he did not express any displeasure about it. "Forget it. I don't think we can come out of this discussion. Let's disperse first," Ma Zayden suddenly said with an impatient face. At the same time, she vaguely winked at Tribulation Crossing Master and Cheetah, but she avoided Shangguan Qinyan. The two of them understood at the same time. With Shangguan Qinyan here, no matter what method the three of them came up with, it would be immediately leaked by Shangguan Qinyan. She was just short of pasting a note on her forehead saying that she was a spy. If they continued with this kind of meeting, it would be meaningless. Fishman's new book, CEO School Bell Clings to Me, is in the midst of serialization. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add Fishman's QQ Guru public account, Fishman2, WeChat public account Urine22, all kinds of latest news and updates. Fishman's latest news. Chapter 5612. If they really wanted to come up with some countermeasures, they had to leave Shangguan Qinyan aside and let the three of them discuss in secret. That was what Ma Zayden meant. She wanted Sage Dunan and Cheetah to work together to send Shangguan Qinyan away. Daoist Dujia immediately said with a helpless expression, "What sect leader Ma said makes sense. It's useless for us to discuss it here. The only hope of our Qinkuan sect is that Daoist Dunan can arrive in time. Let's call it a day. Everyone go back and rest. We'll gather tomorrow." Shangguan Qinyan waved his hand and said with a smile, "Don't. It's rare for us to meet each other. Tomorrow is the last segment of the Archean Grand Meeting. Why don't we gather today, drink, and chat? There won't be many opportunities like this in the future. This shameless guy, why is he like a sticky candy that I can't get rid of?" Ma Zayden glanced at Shangguan Qinyan coldly and said with a pout, "Sorry, I'm not familiar with you. I won't accompany you." Cheetah stood up and said to Shangguan Qinyan with a smile, "I'm sorry, Shangguan Clan Master. I have to go back and make arrangements. After all, our Heaven's Enlightenment faction has the highest probability of being challenged tomorrow. So you know. Without waiting for Shangguan Qingyan to reply, he cupped his hands at Sage Du Nan and Ma Zedin, turned around and left. Sage Du Nan was even more direct. He raised his teacup and said lightly, "I won't see you out." That was it. After all, this was the Qinkuan sect station, seeing that the three of them were determined to exclude him. Shangguan Qingyan had no choice but to shrug his shoulders and leave. After a while, Cheetah and Ma Zedin came back secretly. Although Shangguan Qingyan knew about it, he couldn't stop them. In the end, Shangguan Qingyan didn't know what the three of them came up with. However, he was more confident in Lin Yi than himself, so he didn't care too much. In his opinion, Lin Yi's absolute strength could crush all schemes. He didn't need to worry at all. The next morning, Yu Yi rushed back to Ruined Town and found the station of the Qinkuan sect. This surprised Lin Yi. He didn't expect Yu Yi to be so efficient. He was given 2 days, but he came back in a little more than a day. "Master, I didn't disappoint you. I found the center's experimental base." Yu Yi did not even bother to catch his breath as he said to Lin Yi with a smug expression. That expression was just short of writing the words "hurry up" and "praise me" on his face. "Good job." Lin Yi smiled and said, then asked, "Is it really in the Luo Mountain? Do you have the exact location?" "Of course there is. Master, you can rest assured that Yu Yi will handle it." Yu Yi smiled and patted his chest, then said, "Not only did I know the exact location, I also snuck in to investigate. However, Master told me not to act rashly, so I didn't go too deep. I only heard some news from the periphery." Lin Yi nodded and said, "It's good that you remember my instructions. Tell me, what did you find out?" Yu Yi licked his lips, lowered his voice, and said mysteriously, "Master, I heard that the center is doing some kind of mysterious experiment. They want to inject some kind of sea beast chitinine into the human body. After fusing with it, the human body will break through to the legendary Xian ascending stage. Master, what kind of chicken is this chitinine?" It was actually so powerful, it can even help people break through profound ascension. Chitinine? I'm still a duck fruit. It's really scary to be uneducated. Lin Yi was too lazy to explain to Yu Yi, so he waved his hand and didn't say anything. The center wanted to capture the sea beast royal blue flood dragon. It really wanted to use the blue flood dragon's gene to fuse with the human body and create a Xian ascending stage master. If the center really succeeded in their research, then the structure of the ancient small world would completely change. Lin Yi's own Yuan Shen level was only at the peak of the middle stage of Xian ascending stage. If the center could successfully create a Xian ascending stage master, the level would surpass Lin Yi's Yuan Shen level. With Lin Yi's current Yuan Shen strength, he would be completely in a passive position. Looking up and seeing Yu Yi's face full of fascination, Lin Yi suddenly felt angry and funny. This guy was a crazy person who only wanted to improve his strength. For strength, he could really do anything. After thinking about the power of the Xian ascending stage, he was unable to extricate himself. "What are you envious? Want to go back to the center to accept the experiment and see if you can advance to the legendary Xian ascending stage?" Lin Yi's mouth curled up and asked faintly. Yu Yi's whole body quivered, and he quickly said with a face full of smiles, "How can that be? Yu Yi is Master's man in life, and he is Master's ghost in death. How can he go back to the center to do some chitinine? Even if he succeeds, he will become a bastard. Absolutely impossible." Lin Yi shook his head, helplessly. What is Master's man in life and Master's ghost in death? It's really disgusting. Yu Yi secretly observed Lin Yi's expression and lowered his voice. "Of course, if Master wants Yu Yi to go undercover in the enemy, Yu Yi will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Not to mention being a bastard, it doesn't matter even if it's a hybrid." "Stop," Lin Yi hurriedly raised his hand to stop Yu Yi. This bastard was getting more and more out of hand. However, his desire to become a Xian ascending stage was also very clear. It was almost engraved on his face. Yu Yi obediently shut his mouth, but in his heart he was thinking, if I wasn't controlled by you, I would definitely go and give it a try. Xian ascending stage. That is the legendary Xian ascending stage. One look at you, and I can tell that you haven't seen the world. When you heard that the Xian ascending stage is similar to the Yuanying stage, what a joke! When the center succeeds, any one of them will be able to kill you with a finger. Let's see how you can still be proud. Speaking of which, if the center kills Lin Yi, will I be able to be free? At that time, should I continue to go back to the center and ask them to help me advance to the Xian ascending stage? Seems like it's not bad. The more Yu Yi thought about it, the more he felt that it was a good idea. He suddenly felt a little proud. He actually hoped that the center could quickly create a Xian ascending stage master to kill Lin Yi. Not only could he regain his freedom, but he could also advance to the Xian ascending stage. It was really a good thing for both sides. As for the loyalty that Lin Yi got from the practitioner's arts, Yu Yi had probably thrown it out to feed the dogs by now. Lin Yi glanced at Yu Yi. He felt that the expression on this guy's face was a little strange. He didn't know what he was planning. However, after hearing what Yu Yi said, Lin Yi had some new ideas. Chapter 56:13. Yu Yi hurriedly retracted his thoughts and carefully said, "Why wouldn't I dare? As long as it is Master's order. Yu Yi, I'm not afraid of dying. Not to mention this is a chance to advance to the legendary Xiansheng. It is worth taking a little risk." This is not a little risk. There is a big chance that your body that has just been reincarnated will be finished again, and this time even your soul may fall. Lin Yi was not trying to scare Yu Yi. Even if he did not understand the center's experiment, this little bit of common sense could still be inferred. What kind of risk is that compared to advancing to the Xiansheng stage and becoming the real #1 person in the ancient small Zhenghu? This little risk is completely negligible. Yu Yi could not help but reveal his thoughts. In order to become more powerful, he could indeed do anything. Lin Yi looked at Yu Yi strangely, nodded, and said, "If you say so, then I am relieved. Anyway, if I kill you, I can just find a new body for you to possess." "Ah, Master, what do you mean?" Yu Yi had a dumbfounded look. He thought to himself, could it be that he knew what I was thinking, so he wanted to kill me? That's not right. If he really wanted to kill me, why would he talk about finding a new body for me to possess? You will know in a while. Now come with me. Lin Yi waved his hand to signal Yu Yi to follow him out, sat on the flying spirit beast outside the ruins town, and flew to a remote place in the ancient mountain range. In fact, Lin Yi had just thought of a problem. In the ancient small Zhenghu, the main thing was the cultivation of divine sense, which led to the improvement of the body. Yu Yi in front of him was the best example. In this place, what could divine sense do? Not to mention divine sense attacks, condensing Dan fire, increasing the level, and activating martial skills. Lin Yi felt that he was really stupid. His train of thought had fallen into the wrong direction, thinking that martial arts needed a physical body and qi to be used. For example, the 5 elements murderous aura needed to be condensed into a yuan body to be able to use it. As for the higher level 5 elements murderous aura, it couldn't even be used because of the yuan body's level limit. Actually, that was not the case. In the primordial underworld, many sects used divine sense to drive the physical body to execute martial techniques. In other words, Lin Yi could completely bypass the restrictions of the primordial spirit and use his divine sense to execute the various martial techniques of his main body. In this way, it was equivalent to the full recovery of his main body's combat strength. With this idea in mind, Lin Yi secretly tried it just now and found that it was possible, so he pulled Yu Yi out to test it. Since Yu Yi was completely unafraid of death in order to improve his strength, Lin Yi of course had to satisfy his wish. Since he still had to try, he might as well try to help Yu Yi break through to the profound ascending stage. After the flying spirit beast landed, Lin Yi spread out his divine sense and confirmed that there were no spirit beasts or human cultivators in the surrounding area. He then took out a thunder profound pill from the space in the jade pendant and handed it to Yu Yi. Eat this pill first. Lin Yi didn't explain to Yu Yi what this pill was and what to do next. He just ordered indifferently. Yu Yi's heart skipped a beat. He was inwardly apprehensive, wondering if this was some sort of vicious pill. This kid is cruel and merciless. Maybe he doesn't want to kill me directly, but torture me first? Too vicious. But on the surface, Yu Yi did not show the slightest doubt. Instead, he took the thunder profound pill respectfully and swallowed it without hesitation. He even said with a satisfied look, "Yu Yi thanks Master for the pill. If I can get out of your control, I will definitely torture you to death." Yu Yi, who was swearing in his heart, took the pill and stood quietly on the side. He also began to guess what would happen next. Lin Yi was very satisfied with Yu Yi's performance. He smiled slightly and said, "Are you ready?" "Ah, what does Master want Yu Yi to prepare?" Yu Yi raised his head and continued to look dumbfounded. "You bastard, you didn't say anything. Why did you want me to prepare?" "Prepare to accept the baptism of the thunder tribulation," Lin Yi said lightly, and then he used his divine sense to cast a martial skill and triggered the thunder tribulation. The whole process was as Lin Yi expected. In the beginning it was a little rusty. After all, it was the first time he used his divine sense to cast a martial skill. But after he succeeded, it became smooth. The sudden thunder tribulation completely shocked Yu Yi. If it weren't for Lin Yi's thunder profound pill, it was estimated that Yu Yi would have been killed by Lin Yi. But now his face was scorched black and his hair stood up. He looked a little embarrassed. In Yu Yi's body, while the thunder and lightning raged, Yu Yi's divine sense instinctively guided his body and soul to change. Indeed, as Lin Yi said, this was a baptism of thunder and lightning, purifying the impurities in Yu Yi's body and soul. Without the thunder Xian pill, Yu Yi might have been purified as well. But now he clearly felt as if his body was about to explode. However, at the edge of the limit, there was an endless amount of energy that flowed back into his meridians. Even his spirit began to change as if it had been reborn. At this time, even a fool knew what had happened. This was a precursor to a breakthrough, yuaniing great perfection. What was after the breakthrough? The legendary profound ascension stage. Yu Yi felt that he was really going to explode, not because of the thunder tribulation, but because of the joy in his heart. All of this came too suddenly. Happiness really caught people off guard. After a while, the thunder tribulation stopped. Yu Yi's aura uncontrollably spread out. This kind of powerful feeling in the ancient small world has not been felt for thousands of years. Awesome. Too awesome. I'm going to explode with power. The legendary profound ascension stage. I have broken through. Now, I am the #1 person in the world who can look down on the ancient small world. Yu Yi was so excited that he couldn't help but roar towards the sky. For a person who wholeheartedly pursued the improvement of strength, what could be happier than becoming the #1 in the world? If there was, then it was to kill the person who controlled him. Yu Yi, who was floating in the air, decided to kill Lin Yi in a flash. Although Lin Yi said that he could control Yu Yi's life and death with a thought, Yu Yi was now full of confidence. He thought that he could definitely kill Lin Yi before Lin Yi could react. This fool, he actually let me advance to the profound ascension stage. Did he really think that I would be willing to be his slave for a lifetime? What a joke. I am the #1 person in the ancient times. Chapter 56:14. Amidst a loud rumble, the newly ascended #1 expert of the primordial era, Uncle Yu Yi, who looked down on the world, somersaulted several times in the air, knocking over several large trees in a row. Finally, he slammed into a rock, causing countless cracks to appear on the rock. Yu Yi, who slid down from the rock, immediately knelt down. His eyes were filled with tears. It really hurts. I am a profound ascending stage cultivator, the ancient number 1. Why does it hurt so much? What is the background of this little bastard? Is a profound ascending stage cultivator a doe that can be kneaded casually in front of him? Is there no day for me to make a name for myself? Lin E gently landed in front of Yu E, looked at him with a smile that was not a smile, and said, "What are you doing? Why are you kneeling and crying?" In fact, if Lin E wanted to kill Yu E, he only needed to think about it, but it was not easy to raise Yu E to the profound ascending stage. Lin E did not want to kill him so easily, so he used the Dragon 5 Element's murderous chi to teach Yu E a little lesson. After understanding the method of using divine sense to activate martial skills, Lin Yi's strength completely returned to normal. Not to mention a mere profound ascending stage cultivator. Even if it was a mountain opening stage cultivator, Lin Yi was not afraid at all. Yu E is thanking Master. Without Master, how could there be the current Yu E? Yu E never thought that he would be able to advance to the legendary profound ascension stage in his lifetime. Yu Yi's tears of excitement, I kneel down in gratitude. After saying these words, Yu E admired himself. He was really a genius. Too smart. I am so smart. There will definitely be a chance to escape from the clutches of this little bastard in the future. Oh, is that so? Then why did you rush over here just now? Lin Yi would not believe this guy's nonsense. He was clearly crying and begging for mercy because of the pain. It was as if he was telling the truth. Just now. Yu Yi wanted to play dumb, but on second thought, there was no way to pass the test. So, he immediately said with an enlightened expression, "Just now? That's because I just successfully leveled up, so I was too excited and wanted to hug Master to express my gratitude and celebrate. I didn't expect that I wouldn't be able to control my aura well, so I was a bit rash. It's my fault, Master. Please punish me." So that's how it is. Forget it then. Lin Yi faintly smiled. It didn't matter if this fellow Yu Yi had some petty thoughts. It was fine if he occasionally gave him a warning. In any case, he couldn't escape from the palm of Lin Yi's hand. So let him be. Yu Yi put on a fawning smile and said, "Master's move just now was so powerful. It was really mighty, domineering, and invincible. What was the name of that move?" That's right. Seeing how Master casually sent Yu Yi flying, it seemed that Master's strength had already reached an unfathomable level. I don't know if Yu Yi has a chance to catch up to 1/10 of Master. Lin Yi knew that this guy wanted to find out some information about Lin Yi's strength. In fact, it was not a big deal to tell him, but Lin Yi didn't want to let him do what he wanted, so he faintly smiled and said, "Follow me well and focus on doing things for me. In the future, you still have a chance to catch up to me, 1/10 of my strength." Yu Yi spat a few times in his heart, but his face was still smiling brightly. He respectfully said, "Then Yu Yi thanks Master for cultivating me. All right, let's go back." Lin Yi waved his hand to signal Yu Yi to follow him back to Ruin Town. In his heart, he was thinking about continuing to improve the strength of his side. As a test subject, Yu Yi was the most suitable one, since it had been proven to be feasible. Then Lin Yi had to consider who should be the next person to promote to the profound ascension stage. Anyway, he had the Thunder Xian pill, and the Thunder punishment could also be created. The only problem was to find a suitable person. Now, the most suitable person was, of course, Immemorial Invincible. This was a veteran Yuanying realm cultivator who had been at this level for more than 100 years. With the Thunder Xian pill and the Thunder punishment, advancing to the profound ascension stage was almost a matter of course. As for Bing Wuqing and Exanigia, they both relied on elixirs to advance to the Yuanying realm in a short period of time. Their accumulation was not enough. Even if they forced themselves to use the Thunder Xian pill and the Thunder punishment to advance, it would not necessarily be successful. Instead, it would double the difficulty of advancing in the future. Therefore, Lin Yi did not intend to find them now. In addition to Immemorial Invincible, another suitable person was Shangguan Feixing. This was also a veteran Yuanying realm cultivator, and he had a good relationship with Lin Yi. For the sake of Shanghai Tianhua, he should help him. Not to mention, in order to deal with the center, Lin Yi also needed Shangguan Feishing's strength. With these three masters of the profound ascension stage, Lin Yi could go to the center of the K Luo Mountain in advance after the end of the immemorial grand meeting. It would be best if he could rescue the blue flood dragon before the agreed gathering time of the sea beasts. To be honest, Lin Yi did not really want the army of sea beasts to come ashore. If these sea beasts liked the land and did not want to leave, it would also be troublesome. It was easy to kill them all, but it was not worth it to completely become enemies with the endless sea. Yu Yi agreed. His face did not change, and he respectfully followed Lin Yi back. However, he was laughing in his heart. The matter of being taught a lesson by Lin Yi had long been forgotten. The joy of becoming a profound ascension stage emerged again, and Yu Yi wanted to secretly laugh just thinking about it. Speaking of Xue Jianfeng, that idiot, what the hell did he do with the group of despicable people in the center? And in the end, he became a bastard. I'm still the smart one, following my master casually and becoming a profound ascension stage master, and a purebred one at that. From now on, I should follow my master well. No, I should first deceive him to raise my strength to a higher level, and then turn against him, slap that little bastard on the wall, and completely get out of my control. This plan is not bad, let's do it this way. Yu Yi secretly made a lot of plans in his heart, and before he knew it, he had already returned to the ruined town. After returning to the ruined town, Lin Yi let Yu Yi stay in the Blue Cloud sect first, and he immediately went to find Primordial Invincible and Shangguan Feishing, and asked them to go out with him. The two of them trusted Lin Yi very much, so naturally they did not suspect anything, and left with Lin Yi without saying a word. After arriving at the place where Yu Yi had a breakthrough, and after getting off the flying spirit beast, Lin Yi said to the two of them with a serious face, "Elder Feishing, Elder Invincible, this time I called you out because there is something I need you to decide. No matter what your final choice is, you don't need to consider my opinion, understand?" "I don't quite understand." Primordial Invincible was honest, and directly shook his head and said, "Master Lin, why don't you just say it, as long as it is your matter? I, Primordial Invincible, will absolutely do it without any hesitation." Chapter 56:15. Ever since Lin Yi had completed the Shangguan clan's cultivation technique, Shangguan Feishing had already accepted Lin Yi as his great martial uncle. If possible, he wanted to meet the female great martial uncle from the Shangguan clan. Therefore, he was very respectful towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "It's not about me, it's about the two of you." As he spoke, Lin Yi flipped his hand and took out 2 Thunder Xian pellets. These 2 pellets are called Thunder Xian pellets. Together with the Thunder Calamity, there is a high chance that you can safely advance to the profound ascension stage. However, the high chance does not guarantee success. The so-called safety does not mean that there is absolutely no danger. If you are unlucky, you are likely to be seriously injured by the backlash, and you may not be able to reach the profound ascension stage in the future. Therefore, I need you to make your own decision. Primordial Invincible and Shangguan Feishing were shocked when they heard about the profound thunder pills and breaking through to the profound ascension realm. They looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. From Lin Yi's face, they couldn't tell that he was joking at all. So it was true? Profound ascension realm. What chance? What injury? Both of them didn't hear it at all. Right now, the only thing left in their minds was the profound ascension realm, and the only thing left in their eyes were the profound thunder pills. Great martial Uncle Lin, this disciple is willing to take the profound thunder pills. Shangguan Feishing didn't hesitate and immediately chose to break through to the profound ascension realm. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he didn't grasp it when it was right in front of him, then he, Shangguan Feishing, would have lived for so many years in vain. Primordial Invincible immediately made the same choice. If he wasn't too excited, he would have spoken before Shangguan Feishing, but in the end, Shangguan Feishing beat him to it. Lin Yi wasn't surprised by their choices, although their pursuit of strength wasn't as crazy as Yu Yi's. It was obvious that both of them were the top powerhouses in the ancient underworld. Their pursuit of strength would never stop. If that's the case, then take one each. Elder Feishing, take it first. After Elder Feishing successfully breaks through to the profound ascension realm, Elder Invincible will take the profound thunder pills, so that there won't be any unnecessary trouble. Lin Yi nodded and said, then gave the profound thunder pills to both of them. Shangguan Feishing respectfully received it with both hands. This was a treasure related to whether or not he could enter the profound ascension phase. When he held it in his hands, Shangguan Feishing, a nascent soul, perfected cultivator, actually felt slightly nervous. The invincible primordial realm beside him was obviously not much different. Someone like Bing Wuqing, who had just entered the nascent soul-perfected realm, would never understand the feelings of being trapped for hundreds of years without being able to make any progress. Grandmaster Lin, please just call me Feishing. Don't call me Elder. That's too much. Shangguan Feishing took a deep breath and remembered how Lin Yi addressed him. He immediately asked Lin Yi to change the way he addressed him. That's right. Master Lin, just call me Invincible from now on. Don't call me Elder. Primordial Invincible was annoyed. He felt that he had failed so badly today that he could only repeat what Shangguan Feishing said. Lin Yi didn't mind. After all, cultivators always respected strength. Lin Yi's strength was more than enough to be their grandmaster or senior. All right, that's not important. Feishing, take the profound thunder pill first and prepare for the thunder tribulation. Grandmaster, where did the thunder tribulation come from? Shangguan Feishing obediently took the profound thunder pill. He then looked up at the cloudless sky and asked with some doubt, because they came here by flying spirit beast. They were quite far from the ruined town. The commotion caused by Yu Yi's advancement to the profound ascending stage would not spread to the ruined town. Lin Yi chose this place to keep it a secret. Don't worry. If I say there's a thunder tribulation, there will definitely be a thunder tribulation. Lin Yi didn't explain. They would find out soon anyway. When the effect of the pill was about to take effect, Lin Yi said, "Get ready!" Then he used his divine sense to activate a martial technique and trigger the thunder tribulation. Lin Yi's lightning tribulation wasn't comparable to a real lightning tribulation. But Shangguan Feishing and Primordial Invincible, who had never seen a lightning tribulation before, were both shocked. Shangguan Feishing, who was in the middle of the lightning tribulation, didn't have the time to carefully observe and feel it. He was shocked for a moment, but he immediately used all his strength to break through to profound ascension. But Primordial Invincible, who was on the side, felt that Lin Yi was terrifying because of the thunder tribulation. To be able to trigger the power of heaven and earth with the strength of one person, this was no longer within the scope of martial techniques. It was beyond martial techniques and belonged to the legendary supernatural power. To be able to meet a person like Lin Yi, who was destined to be extraordinary, Primordial Invincible suddenly felt that his luck was really good. Originally, most of his thoughts were to cooperate with Lin Yi to repay him. Now, after seeing the strength of Lin Yi, all of his thoughts turned into sincere reverence. After a short while, Shangguan Feishing successfully broke through to the profound ascension stage and easily stabilized his strength. After all, he was a veteran Yuanying stage, great perfection for so many years. Compared to Yu Yi, who was promoted by the center, he was much more powerful. Until now, Yu Yi's profound ascension stage aura was still a little unstable. From this point, it could be seen the difference in accumulation between the two. Thank you, Martial Uncle. After Shangguan Feishing felt the indescribable power in his body, he immediately came over and bowed with his fists. Shangguan Feishing was not Yu Yi. He would not be blinded by the huge increase in strength just because he entered the profound ascension stage. On the contrary, Lin Yi, who was able to easily improve his strength, became more and more unfathomable in Shangguan Feixing's heart. Therefore, Shangguan Feixing, who had reached the profound ascension stage, became more and more respectful to Lin Yi. This is also because your own strength has reached a certain level. I just provided you with an opportunity. If you can't do it yourself, I can't do anything about it. Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand. He did not have the intention to take credit in front of Shangguan Feixing. Everyone knew what was going on in their hearts. They knew what to do without saying anything, so there was no need to say anything on the surface. Shangguan Feixing did not continue to say anything. As the saying goes, great kindness cannot be thanked with words. Obviously, Lin Yi's kindness to him could not be offset with words of gratitude. Anyway, in the future, he will firmly follow Lin Yi and be at his beck and call. Chapter 56:16. Lin Yi turned his head and gestured to Primordial Invincible to take the pill. Primordial Invincible nodded, took a deep breath, raised his head and took the Thunder Xian pill. Shangguan Feixing quietly retreated to the side, consciously guarding Lin Yi and Primordial Invincible. When Lin Yi used a martial skill to trigger the Thunder Retribution again, it was Shangguan Feixing's turn to sigh. Although he had experienced it just now, he still felt that it was incredible. Even though Shangguan Feixing was already an expert in the early stage of Mysterious Ascension Realm, he still felt that it was very dangerous to face such a powerful Thunder Retribution, because at this moment there was no Thunder Xian pill that could neutralize and absorb the power of the Thunder Retribution. Primordial Invincible quickly completed his advancement in the Thunder Retribution. He was a more experienced, nascent, soul great perfection than Shangguan Feixing, so his accumulation was naturally deeper. From the stabilized aura, he was also stronger than Shangguan Feixing. Lin Yi did not ask how many spiritual roots they had integrated in the end. Firstly, it was not convenient for them to ask. Although Lin Yi knew that they would definitely answer if he asked, it was obviously not a reason. Secondly, Lin Yi used the advancement method of Heaven Stage Island, but after the actual advancement, it was not certain whether it would be the same as Heaven Stage Island. After all, the advancement of the ancient small Jianghu mainly relied on the divine sense, so it was not convenient to ask this question. Anyway, the leader could ask Yui, "Master Lin, I, Primordial Invincible, am not very good with words, so I won't say anything unnecessary. If you need my help in the future, please don't hesitate to ask." Primordial Invincible's heart was full of joy. Lin Yi smiled and congratulated him a few words, then changed the topic. When the leader went to K Luo Mountain, he would really need the two of them immediately. "Martial uncle, the time to challenge the 4 great sects is about to begin, right? This time, I will also go and have a look. If the Qinkuan sect and the 5 Elements sect don't know what's good for them, we can just kick them away and play by ourselves." Previously, Shangguan Feixing had gone into seclusion to study the completed mental cultivation techniques. However, Shangguan Qingyun must have been reporting to him about the situation of the archaic meeting, so Shangguan Feixing wasn't unfamiliar with it at all. Now that he had become a mysterious ascended early-stage expert, Shangguan Feixing was no longer in a hurry to study the mental cultivation method. If Jadian sect wanted to become one of the 4 great sects as a grand disciple, he still had to support Grand Master Lin Yi. Hell, let's see how it goes. I don't think they will really do anything out of line. Lin Yi smiled faintly. The matter regarding the 4 great sects had basically been decided. After being able to use his divine sense to execute martial techniques, who else in the supreme ancient underworld could be a match for Lin Yi? At present, the 3 profound ascending stage cultivators who had just been promoted were not even a match for Lin Yi. If he really wanted to overthrow the Qinkuan sect and the 5 Element sect, it would just be a piece of cake for Lin Yi. The only trouble was the center. He didn't know how far the center's experiment had progressed. Logically speaking, it wouldn't succeed so quickly. The most worrying thing was that they had already done the research before. Now, they just needed to add the blue flood dragon gene, and it would be completed. The three of them boarded the flying spirit beast and quickly flew to the ruined town. The time was almost up. Lin Yi had already decided to solve the 4 challenges as soon as possible. After arriving at the ruined town, the 4 great sects and 10 small sects had already gathered and were ready for the final 4 challenges. Because Lin Yi hadn't appeared yet, the people of Jadian's sect naturally wouldn't come out to challenge. As for the Qinkuan sect and the 5 Elements sect, they didn't rush them either. Everyone was waiting tacitly. Before Lin Yi went over, he said to Primordial Invincible, "Invincible, in this 4 challenges, our Jadian sect will challenge the Qinkuan sect, and then your Thousand Blade sect will challenge the 4 great sections." Originally, although the Thousand Blade sect was ranked second among the 10 small sects, because you didn't meet the prerequisite of having 3 nascent soul stage cultivators, you were qualified to challenge, but you couldn't. Now that you're already in the profound ascending stage, it doesn't matter anymore. I understand. Primordial Invincible nodded in agreement. In fact, the one he wanted to challenge the most was the Qinkuan sect. After all, the enmity between the 2 sects was too deep. Plus, Primordial Invincible had just been crippled by the Qinkuan sect. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, he might not even be able to get out of his bed, let alone an early profound ascending stage cultivator. However, since Lin Yi had said that the Jadian sect was going to challenge the Qinkuan sect, it meant that this was part of Lin Yi's plan, let alone the fact that the Thousand Blade sect was ranked second. Even if they were ranked first, they would still leave the Qinkuan sect for Lin Yi to deal with. Lin Yi nodded his head and didn't say anything else. Among the 4 big sects, the Shangguan clan was definitely not an option. Lin Yi didn't need to remind Lin Yi about this. After all, Shangguan Feixing was right next to him. Even if Primordial Invincible was stupid enough to challenge the Shangguan clan, he might not be able to defeat Shangguan Feixing. Furthermore, Lin Yi would never allow such a situation to happen. Without a doubt, the 5 Elements sect, which had some enmity with Lin Yi, was the best target. Although Lin Yi didn't say it out loud, his plan was basically the same. The Heaven's Enlightenment faction didn't have any stance, so Lin Yi didn't have any intention of targeting them. If the Snow Sword faction could gather 3 nascent soul realm warriors, they could continue challenging the Heaven's Enlightenment faction. Unfortunately, Yu Taitsong had become Yuan, and Xue Jianfeng had betrayed the Snow Sword faction and joined the core sect. The only one left was Bing Wuqing, who didn't have the qualifications to challenge the 4 big sections. Unless Lin Yi could turn Bing Wuqing into a profound ascending realm warrior, she would definitely lose. In just a few words, the 3 of them had arrived at the edge of the stage. Shangguan Qinyan saw that his father had arrived as well, so he quickly came over and greeted Lin Yi. After that, he brought Shangguan Feixing to the stage. After all, this position originally belonged to Shangguan Feixing. Shangguan Qinyan was also qualified to come up, but his ranking was still lower than Shangguan Feixing's. The Shangguan clan has 2 geniuses, 2 perfected nascent soul realm warriors. After this competition, I'm afraid their ranking will rise by a few ranks. Why don't you just say that the Shangguan clan will be able to reach the top of the 4 big sects? There are only 3 positions left, all right? Stop talking. Lin Yi and Primordial Invincible are here. The 4 big challenges are about to begin. Who do you think the Blue Cloud sect will choose to challenge? It shouldn't be their own backing, the Shangguan clan, right? Do you think the Blue Cloud sect is as stupid as you? I think most of them will challenge the Heaven's Enlightenment faction. I think it's more likely to challenge the 5 Element sect. The Blue Cloud sect had a conflict with the 5 Elements sect before. With the appearance of Lin Yi, the people below the stage began to whisper again. There were all kinds of things being said, but no one said the truth. The 4 big challenges were about to begin. After Lin Yi arrived, he called the great elder of the ruins town and said, "You can start the 4 big challenges now." School Bell's foreign story is being serialized. Please add the Fishman's QQ God account Fishman2 and WeChat account Urine22. All kinds of activities will be held regularly, and autographed books will be sent continuously. Chapter 56:17. The great elder of the ruins town glanced at Lin Yi and said indifferently, "It's not time yet. Why are you in such a hurry?" Exen said with dissatisfaction, "When will it be time?" "We will tell you when it is time. Do you think that you are already one of the top 4? You even want a medal in this matter?" The great elder of the ruins town mocked Exen indifferently. If Exen was not a good-tempered person, he would have turned against him. Chi Danei saw that the faces of the Jadian sect people were not looking good, so he immediately laughed and said, "Everyone from the Jadian sect, don't be so impatient. We have waited for a day, it's not a big deal. Today is an important day. We are likely to witness the birth of a new top 4, so we should wait for the auspicious time to start." In fact, this was one of the methods discussed by Tribulation Immortal, Ma Zedin, and Chi Danei, which was to buy as much time as possible for Tribulation Immortal to come here. Tribulation Immortal, Ma Zedin, and Chi Danei should have arrived a long time ago, but he was in a critical moment of closed-door training, so it was delayed until now. From his reply, it seemed that his cultivation had improved again, although he still could not break through to the profound ascension stage. He could be regarded as half a step away from the profound ascension stage, which was more than twice as powerful as a normal Yuanying stage cultivator. Once Tribulation Immortal, the first Yuanying stage cultivator, arrived, the Qinquan sect would be as stable as a mountain. No one knew what agreement Chi Danei had with the two sects, but he actually gave up his neutral position and spoke for the Qinquan sect. Lin Yi glanced at Chi Danei and nodded. "All right. How long until the auspicious time arrives?" Chi Danei and Tribulation Immortal looked at each other, knowing that they would not be able to pass the time without a clear time, so they could only say with a smile, "In another hour it will be the most auspicious time today. Then we will wait for an hour." Lin Yi did not waste any more time. Since they were going to settle everything today, it was not a big deal to wait for an hour more. It was just enough time for Yu Yi to continue to consolidate his strength. Thinking of Yu Yi, Lin Yi used his divine sense to find his position. He was sitting in the last row of the Jadian sect's phalanx, practicing quietly, which made Lin Yi very satisfied. In fact, Yu Yi was very excited at this moment. He was still praying non-stop, hoping that all the people from the Green Cloud sect would fail. It would be best if all of them died. Then Lin Yi would have no choice but to send him, Yu Yi, to save the situation. He wanted everyone in the small world to see that he, Yu Yi, was the legendary super-strong practitioner of the Black Ascension stage. He was a god who stood in the sky and looked down on the whole world. Yu use his, Yu Tian, if Lin Yu, and he would wake, if to you would Yu of EU of Tian. Yu, he of you, he Yu of. You, the and you of Chin Yu. Yu at Yu, the you of you, he. Let's start now. We are all busy, and it's not a good idea to waste time like this. The great elder of Tian Yu had no other choice. He looked at Yu Jinren, but he didn't get any hint, so he nodded and said, "Let's start the challenge. Tell me the rules first." Speaking of this, the great elder pretended to clear his throat, and then said in a slow tone, "This time, only the Jadian sect is qualified for the challenge. So, people of the Jadian sect, please listen carefully. The rules of the challenge are very simple. After specifying the sect to be challenged, both sides will send their strongest people to fight alone. There will be a total of 3 matches, and the winner will win 2 out of 3 matches. You can choose one person to fight 3 matches, or you can send 3 people to fight 1 match each. The losers can continue to fight if they want. There is no limit to their strength. If you want, you can also send a stage of foundation establishment. Speaking of the foundation establishment stage, The Grand Elder of the ruined town glanced meaningfully at Ling Tianyu of the Thousand Blade Sect, obviously mocking the fact that the Thousand Blade Sect only had 2 people. I would like to remind you that if you want to become one of the Big Four, you must first fulfill the condition of having 3 original soul stage experts. One of them must be at the great completion stage of the nascent soul stage. If you don't meet the conditions, don't even think about challenging the Big Four. The great elder of the ruined town almost called out the Thousand Blade Sect. In the eyes of the great elder of Ruin's town, there were only 2 people in the Thousand Blade Sect. Even if the Blue Cloud Sect succeeded in ascending, the Thousand Blade Sect could not change the fact that they could only reach the 10 small ones. No matter what, they could not threaten the Qinquan Sect. Since there was no possibility for the Thousand Blades Sect to advance, and they could not afford to offend Lin Yi, it was also good to vent their anger on the Thousand Blade Sect. If it were not for the fact that Lin Yi's strength was too unpredictable, the Qinquan Sect and the other 2 sects would even want to directly remove Lin Yi from the Blue Cloud Sect's list of original soul stage experts, so that they could even skip the challenge. Ling Tianyu was very calm, completely ignoring the great elder's provocation. Although he did not know that the primordial invincible had advanced to the profound ascension stage, the primordial invincible, who came back with Lin Yi, gave him a completely strange feeling. It was as if staying beside the primordial invincible made him tremble from the bottom of his heart. Obviously, this was not a bad thing. Are you done? If you are, then let's start. Xian Ijia impatiently interrupted the long speech of the great elder of Ruin's town. He pointed at Du Jizhenren and said, "We, the Blue Cloud Sect, want to challenge the Qinquan Sect." There was a sudden uproar. Most people guessed that the Blue Cloud Sect would choose the Enlightenment Sect as their opponent. After all, the Enlightenment Sect was currently the weakest sect. There were also many people who thought that the Blue Cloud Sect would challenge the 5-Element Sect, but basically no one thought that the opponent of the Blue Cloud Sect would be the Qinquan Sect. After all, the Qinquan Sect had always been the leader of the 4 sections. Even if the tiger was dead, the tiger was still alive. The strongest immortal Du Nan was still standing behind the Qinquan Sect like a mountain. With immortal Du Nan there, anyone who wanted to challenge the Qinquan Sect would have to think twice. The title of the first original soul stage expert was not self-proclaimed. It was recognized by the small Jianghu in ancient times. Du Jizhenren's face was livid. Even though he had expected it, being challenged by Xian Ijia still made him feel embarrassed. Chapter 56:18. It couldn't be helped. The rules were set by them. Even if they didn't want to, the challenge sect had to come out and accept the challenge unless they admitted defeat. Obviously, Sage Du Jia would not admit defeat. In that case, the participants of the first match, please come on stage. The great elder of the Ruins town was also indignant. As a member of the Qinquan sect, he looked at Lin Yi and the others with hatred. It was rare that he could continue to host the match. Lin Yi lifted his foot and was about to go up. Since Divine Sense could activate martial arts, Lin Yi could easily defeat anyone from the Qinquan sect without using Divine Sense attacks. If he went up, the 2 matches would probably take less than a minute, as long as the great elder of the Ruins town didn't dawdle and drag the time. Wait. Sage Du Jia saw that Lin Yi was about to go up on stage and immediately shouted to stop him. Lin Yi, you can't go up on stage to fight. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and said, "What do you mean?" Sage Du Jia landed on the stage and said righteously, "The rules have stated that the strongest people of the 2 sects will fight. Are you human? You are a primordial spirit." This was the second method that Sage Du Jia and the other 2 had discussed. If time couldn't be delayed, then they would find an excuse not to let Lin Yi fight. The most unpredictable person in the Qinquan sect was Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi was excluded, the others were nothing to worry about. Ma Zayden laughed and said, "That's right. Lin Yi, you're not human at all. Even if you go up on stage, The result can't be counted. This was blatantly pointing at Lin Yi and calling him a non-human. Ma Zedong felt so good, there was no need to mention it. Shangguan Qingyun immediately retorted, "What nonsense are you talking about? For us cultivators, the primordial spirit is the origin. It is ridiculous to say that the primordial spirit is not human. If you say that, the four great sects will lose all their face." The audience below the stage was also discussing. Most of them felt that Shangguan Qingyun was right. What primordial spirit was not human? Who didn't have a primordial spirit? Wouldn't everyone be inhuman then? To the people of the primordial underworld, the primordial spirit was the origin, and the physical body was just a bag. Therefore, the saying of a tribulation-passing sage was absolutely repulsive to most people. Qi Danyi looked at them with an unfathomable expression. Then he smiled and said, "Everyone, let's not talk too much. Actually, there are no specific rules regarding whether a primordial spirit can participate in the competition. We have learned our lesson this time and can change it in the future. As for today's competition, Elder Lin, I think you don't need to participate. Anyway, Qingyun sect is full of talents. You, as the Grand Master, should at least give the younger generation a chance to gain experience." At first, it seemed to be a fair judgment, but in the end, it was completely biased towards Qingyun sect. Lin Yi looked at Qi Danyi and knew that the Heaven Awakening faction was pressured to join the alliance between Qingyun sect and Five Element sect. Fortunately, they were not shameless enough to not count Lin Yi as one of Qingyun sect's nascent soul stage experts. Otherwise, they could directly disqualify Qingyun sect's challenge qualification. They probably didn't dare to go too far. Otherwise, if Lin Yi directly turned hostile, the three sects might not be able to withstand Lin Yi's anger. It was better to use this kind of small trick to force Lin Yi to be unable to participate in the competition. In that case, Lin Yi had nothing to say. Later, if the Thousand Blades sect did not choose Five Element sect and chose to challenge the Heaven Awakening faction, then they deserved it. It was simply a joke to say that without three nascent soul stage experts, one was not qualified to be one of the four great sects. The primordial invincible had advanced to Xiansheng, and he alone was enough to fight against 8 or 10 nascent soul stage experts. If they really fought, 8 or 10 nascent soul stage experts could only be killed by the primordial invincible in seconds. Who dared to say that the Thousand Blades sect was not qualified? Well, since Elder Qi has said so as a martial granduncle, I really should give some opportunities to the younger generation disciples to perform. Lin Yi shrugged indifferently and said with a faint smile. In fact, if Lin Yi really wanted to participate in the competition, they couldn't stop him even if they joined forces. However, Lin Yi had a new idea, so he took the opportunity and agreed. Turning around, Lin Yi said to Ixia, "Ijie, you go and experience the strength of the Qingyun sect's experts in the first round. Be careful, they're the #1 sect in the Archean era. They are very powerful." Ixia did not expect to have a chance to participate in the competition. Since his strength had improved to the full completion of the nascent soul stage, he had not fought a real fight yet. He immediately nodded excitedly and said, "No problem, martial granduncle. Just watch my performance." In the top 10 ranking competition, Ixia did not even get a chance to participate in the competition. All the opportunities were taken by his disciple, Jin Weifeng. Now that he finally had a chance to participate, he must perform well. After getting on the stage, Ixia pointed at the Qingyun sect with his sheathed long sword and said, "Ixia from the Jadian sect is here to challenge. Who from the Qingyun sect will come out?" Sage Du Nan was full of hatred. The Qingyun sect used to have many experts, but more than half of them had died during the Archean era. Now that Sage Du Nan was not here, who else could participate in the competition except him? Since sect leader Xian has come down personally, of course, I will also accept the challenge. Sage Du Nan snorted and walked towards Exaion step by step. During this period, his momentum was raised to the extreme, and the aura of the full completion of the nascent soul stage was completely revealed. Good. I'd like to see what Sage Du Nan is capable of. Exaion laughed and put away his sheathed long sword. He stabbed it on the ground, and his momentum burst out without any reservation. The full completion of the nascent soul stage. Although there was such a rumor that only a full completion of the nascent soul stage was qualified to challenge the top four, it was the first time that Exaion showed his full strength in front of the crowd, and it still caused a commotion. On the surface, Exaion seemed to have the upper hand. After all, Sage Du Nan was only a full completion of the nascent soul stage, which was much weaker than a real full completion of the nascent soul stage. Full completion of the nascent soul stage? You're quite powerful. The tribulation immortal did not seem to care at all. He sneered and kept his own pace. He walked towards Exaion step by step. Every step was as if it was measured with a ruler without any difference. To be honest, Sage Du Nan was not afraid of Exaion. No matter how powerful Exaion was now, it did not change the fact that he was only at the early phase of the gold core stage a year ago. With such rapid improvement, even if he was at the full completion of the nascent soul stage, his foundation would not be stable. Even if Sage Du Nan was slightly lower than Exaion, he was confident that he could defeat Exaion. Chapter 56:19. Lin Yi did not have the Qinkuan sect's mental cultivation method and martial art skills, so he could not give specific instructions to the Qingyun sect's disciples. Exaion could only rely on his own experience and insight when he entered the arena. Unfortunately, Exaion improved too fast, so his battle experience at this level was infinitely close to zero. When Jinren Dujia was 10 steps away from Exaion, the invisible pressure made Exaion feel that he could not wait any longer. With a clear whistle, he shook his right wrist, and the long sword was unsheathed like lightning. The scabbard was bounced out by Exaion skillfully and hit Jinren Dujia, who was 10 steps away. Jinren Dujia's face did not change at all, and he still took a step at the same pace. The universe step. The scabbard pierced into the ground with a sharp whistle. It was supposed to be Jinren Dujia's place, but now there was no one there. Jinren Dujia's step seemed to add all the distance he had walked before. When he landed, he was already behind Exaion, and he turned around to attack Exaion back with his palm. Although Exaion did not have enough battle experience at this level, he was not a newbie who had never fought before. When he found that the scabbard missed, he knew something was wrong. He had already circled his long sword, using defense as offense. He did not want to win, but to avoid making mistakes, Jinren Dujia's palm hit Exaion long sword as if he did not see Exaion long sword. Strangely, Exaion impenetrable sword did not stop Jinren Dujia's palm at all. It allowed Jinren Dujia's palm to penetrate through the long sword's defense and almost hit Exaion back where his heart was. The universe step was so terrifying. It was not just a footwork, but a powerful martial arts skill that included follow-up attacks. Lin Yi, who was watching from the side, could not help but be slightly moved. At this critical moment, Exaion did not panic. Although he did not see Jinren Dujia behind him, his sharp divine mind sensed the danger in advance. The long sword that was circling around Exaion body suddenly rose into the sky like lightning. Jinren Dujia's palm missed Exaion vital parts by a little. It only scratched the outside of Exaion waist, and most of the chi he exhaled missed. Exaion, who was in the air, frowned slightly. He had suffered quite a bit in the first round. Although the attack on his waist was not a serious injury, it was enough to affect his movements. He had to end the next battle as soon as possible. It would definitely be disadvantageous for Exaion if the fight dragged on. Jinren Dujia really could not be underestimated. Even though the strongest person in Qinkuan sect was Jinren Dujia, was still the head of the sect. Jinrin Dujia's attack missed, but there was no sadness or joy on his face. He looked up slowly and elegantly, but his eyes were locked on Xianji's figure. The heaven and earth step was still within the time limit. The tribulation immortal stamped his feet lightly and disappeared in a flash. He appeared above the tribulation immortal like a ghost and struck out with his palm. This time the target was Xianji's head. The heaven and earth step was still in effect. Xianji was in the air. He tried to turn his head to look at his previous position, trying to find traces of Tribulation Immortal. He did not expect that Tribulation Immortal had already appeared above him. He was still flying up, which was equivalent to sending his head to the palm of Tribulation Immortal. "Master, be careful!" Jin Weifeng, who was watching the battle, screamed. He knew that he could not help Xianji at all. If Xianji reacted to his warning, his head would have been smashed like a watermelon that was smashed by a hammer. He squinted his eyes, but he did not intend to make a move. Xianji could still handle this level of attack. What he lacked now was actual combat experience. That was why he was tricked by Jinrin Dujia step by step. In terms of real strength, Xianji was still half a level higher. Sure enough, although Xianji could not see Jinrin Dujia, not seeing him meant the greatest danger. Xianji could not confirm the position of Jinrin Dujia, so he could only display his martial arts skills to avoid being in absolute danger. Third appearance of the Cloud Dragon. This was a high-level feng shui martial arts skill in Qianyin sect. Xianji had just mastered it after reaching the nascent soul realm. Jinrin Dujia's palm hit Xianji's head, but it went through Xianji's body directly without any force. It was completely a shadow. Jinrin Dujia, who had been calm since he displayed the universe step, showed a little surprise for the first time. He did not expect that Xianji could escape from danger with the help of martial arts skills at this critical moment. However, Jinrin Dujia's eyes instantly turned to another position and locked on Xianji's figure again. To some extent, the universe step of Qinkuan sect was similar to the Six Directions sect's heaven and earth Six Directions sect, but the universe step was obviously more powerful. After discovering Xianji, Jinrin Dujia's figure flashed and disappeared. He completely ignored the fact that he could not borrow any force in the air. He appeared behind Xianji in a flash and slapped the back of Xianji's head. Xianji did not seem to react at all this time. He did not move at all. However, above Jinrin Dujia, a long sword with cold light suddenly pierced down. The genuine qi on the tip of the sword was fluctuating, and it almost touched the Baihui acupoint of Jinrin Dujia's head. The audience below the stage cried out in surprise. Although most of them couldn't see the specific details of those few moments, the occasional thrilling scene was exciting enough. Without a doubt, Jinrin Dujia's palm once again went through Xianji's shadow. The third appearance of the Cloud Dragon, of course, would not only have one shadow. Would Jinrin Dujia, who was full of killing intent at every step, fail so easily? No one would believe such a reversal, and no one had the time to consider such a possibility, because the next change had happened almost at the same time. Xianji's fatal sword pierced through Jinrin Dujia's head smoothly, but at the same time, Xianji did not feel any obstruction. The Jinrin Dujia's long sword pierced through was also a shadow. Chapter 56:20. This was his last move. Xianji, who had used all his skills, could no longer control his body and could only fall down. The panic in his heart made him lose his cool. In a battle of this level, losing one's cool almost meant failure. Tribulation Master appeared behind Xianji again, but the distance between them was a bit awkward. He wanted to continue attacking Xianji with his palms, but it seemed that his hands were too short. After a series of movements in the air, Tribulation Master was like an arrow at the end of its flight. He could no longer control his movement in the air. All he could do was shake his body and attack Exanigia with an ordinary whip kick. It was impossible for such an attack to kill or even seriously injure Exanigia. The Tribulation Immortal felt that it was better to kick Exanigia than to do nothing, since he had nothing to do. It was better than nothing. Unexpectedly, Tribulation Immortal's whip kick barely reached Exanigia due to the distance between them. However, the kick did not land on Exanigia's body. Exanigia lost control of his body and was sent flying out of the ring. His kick only grazed Exanigia's body. Exanigia's body spun and flew out of the ring. To be honest, even the tribulation-passing immortal himself did not expect this result. He wanted to seize the opportunity to gain the upper hand after landing. It would be best if he could kill Exanigia. However, it seemed to be a good idea to win the battle so easily. As long as they won the next battle, Chinquin sect would win the challenge, and the qualification of the top 10 would end here. Even if Tribulation Master Du Nen could not make it, it would not be a big problem. The first battle between Chinquin sect and Chinquin sect. The winner is Tribulation Master of Chinquin sect. The great elder of the ruins town, who always wore a poker face, announced loudly with a proud tone. His face was full of disdain. His expression was full of disdain for everyone. Look, look, look. This is the strength of Chinquin sect, the first ancient sect. The strongest one can defeat all of you without even having to fight. Come on, let me see who else is left. Who else? The onlookers were in an uproar, but they were not satisfied with the result. That's it? Sand got into my eyes, and it's gone after just a few blinks? The battle was so exciting at the beginning. How could it end so weakly? Keep fighting. What was that kick? That was so ugly. It doesn't count. Sect leader Exan, don't be discouraged. Keep going. We'll definitely win this time. Sage, who had just won a round, looked gloomy. He was no longer as calm as he was when he was in the state of heaven and earth step. 7 out of 10 people supported Exanigia, and the other 3 were just here to watch the show. None of them said that he was a good fighter. Are you all King blind? Exanigia walked to Linny in shame and said softly, Granduncle, I've let you down. I was too careless this time. Please give me another chance. This time I will defeat a transcending tribulation, enlightened being, even if I have to die. The rules of the challenge were that the loser was allowed to continue on stage. In any case, it was a best of 3. If you failed once, you could go on stage. If you failed the second time, it would be over. If you were willing, no one would stop you. That was why Exanigia said so. In fact, he had no confidence in defeating the transcending tribulation enlightened being. Exanigia had not seen through the transcending tribulation enlightened being's martial arts technique. Lin Yi obviously knew this, so he patted Exanigia's shoulder and said, You're just not experienced enough, but your strength is no weaker than the transcending tribulation enlightened being. It's not impossible if you want to go on stage and win, but you have to tell me, why did you fail? Exanigia was speechless. Didn't I fail because of lack of experience? That's what you said, Grand Uncle. It seems that you really don't understand. The martial arts technique that the transcending tribulation enlightened being used was very powerful and high-end. At first, I thought it was just a kind of magical footwork. Then I found out that the footwork had a connecting attack, which was the palm that the transcending tribulation enlightened being had been using. It's not that he couldn't use other martial arts techniques, but it would destroy the integrity of the technique. In order to let Exanigia learn from this experience, Lin Yi took great pains to tell Exanigia what he saw in detail. After a short pause, Lin Yi's face turned serious. If that's all, the transcending tribulation enlightened being's technique isn't too difficult to deal with. Your third appearance of a cloud dragon is just enough to restrain it. But in the end, I found out that the scariest thing about the transcending tribulation enlightened being's martial arts technique is that he can instantly copy the opponent's martial arts technique within the range of his own martial arts technique. Although I guess it's just a temporary copy, it's enough for him to gain a huge advantage in the battle. Exynegia raised his head in shock and looked at Lin E. Granduncle. You mean the transcending tribulation, enlightened being actually copied my third appearance of the Cloud Dragon and defeated me with my own martial arts technique? It was such a ridiculous thing. However, when Exynegia thought about it carefully, he found that he completely believed it. The continuous movement and shadow of the transcending tribulation, enlightened being in the air at the last moment, was his third appearance of the Cloud Dragon. After Exynegia figured it out, he was deeply shocked by the transcending tribulation, enlightened being's one step to the universe. With such a powerful martial arts technique, it was not unreasonable that the Qinkuan sect could stand on the top of the small Jianghu in the ancient times. However, what shocked Exynegia even more was that Lin Yi could analyze the profound meaning of the transcending tribulation, enlightened beings, one step to the universe just by watching for a while. Moreover, his analysis was meticulous and flawless. How many fierce battles did he have to go through in order to have such combat experience and insight? In fact, although Lin Yi had rich combat experience, the reason why he could analyze the transcending tribulation, enlightened beings, one step to the universe, so accurately was that he was used to copying other people's martial arts technique. Without such insight, even if he had the 5 elements and the universal genuine qi, he would not be able to do it. In this aspect alone, Exynegia could not be compared with him. As the two of them spoke, a flying spiritual beast flew towards them like lightning from afar and landed on a high platform with a gust of wind. In Ruined Town, only the 4 great sects and clans had the privilege to drive flying spiritual beasts into the town directly. Therefore, this person was undoubtedly a member of the 4 great sects and clans. When the transcending tribulation, enlightened being saw the middle-aged man in a Taoist robe coming down from the flying spiritual beast, he laughed and greeted him. "Senior brother Dunan, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Chapter 56:21. Everyone looked at the ordinary-looking, middle-aged man in a Taoist robe. He was the #1 nascent soul cultivator in the archaic Jianghu. Although he did not show his qi, there was still an invisible power that made him stand out from the crowd. "You can't even handle such a small matter?" Enlightened Master Dunan glanced at the Jade Cloud sect's side, then scolded Enlightened Master Dunan in a slightly dissatisfied tone. Immortal Du-Nan thought to himself that he would not be able to handle it if he did not play some tricks. However, he still put on a smile and said, "Since you're here, there's nothing I can't handle. It's mainly because I can't feel at ease without you." Hearing that, Immortal Dunan's eyes softened a lot. It seemed that they had a good relationship. However, when the onlookers saw that Immortal Dunan, who was dignified and serious just a moment ago, had become a completely different person with a bright smile on his face, they did not know how to react. "Senior brother Dunan, this year the Green Cloud sect really doesn't know what's good for them. How dare they challenge our Qinkuan sect? I've already won a challenge against Exynegia, the current leader of the Green Cloud sect. If I win another one, I'll be able to defeat the Green Cloud sect." Immortal Du-Nan glanced at Exynegia with disdain. He believed that he could still defeat Exynegia if they fought again. And this time Immortal Du-Nan was not going to let Exynegia go so easily. After all, he had challenged the Qinkuan sect. He had to teach Exynegia a lesson. "Why don't you kill him?" Immortal Du-Nan followed Immortal Du-Nan's line of sight and looked at Exynegia coldly. Someone who dared to challenge the Qinkuan sect did not deserve to live. "I wanted to kill him too, but I failed." Immortal Du-Nan smiled embarrassedly and said, "Senior brother, don't worry. Exynegia is the most powerful person in the Green Cloud sect. I guess he'll be the next one. Although he's at the peak of the nascent soul realm, he's not that powerful. Just wait and see how I'll deal with him." Immortal Du-Nan waved his hand and said, "Forget it. Since I'm already here, let me exercise a little, and let the people in the archaic Jianghu know the consequences of challenging the Qingkuan sect. Tribulation Master was overjoyed. He clapped his hands and laughed. With senior brother Dunan's help, Xianijia will definitely die. After that, Tribulation Immortal turned around and laughed loudly at Lin Yi and Xianijia. Xianijia, who's up for the second round? Don't tell me you're still going to come up? Ha ha ha. If it's really you, then let me give you a piece of advice. Hurry up and leave behind your last words. This time, the one on the stage is my senior brother, the #1 expert of half-step profound ascension. When the time comes, don't even have the chance to beg for mercy. Lin Yi sneered. He put his hand on Xianijia's shoulder to stop him from fighting. Fighting with Tribulation Immortal could improve Xianijia's fighting experience. However, if he fought with Immortal Dunan, Xianijia might not even have time to react before he was killed by Immortal Dunan. The difference between a half-step profound ascension and a normal nascent soul realm cultivator was as big as the difference between a nascent soul realm cultivator and a nascent soul realm cultivator. Knowing this, Lin Yi certainly would not let Xianijia take the risk. Half-step profound ascension. You scared us to death. Lin Yi looked at Immortal Du-Nan sarcastically. Although the conversation between Immortal Du-Nan and Tribulation Master was whispering, Lin Yi still heard every word. Lin Yi really wanted to kill Immortal Du-Nan. Because of what Immortal Du-Nan said, why don't you kill him? In Immortal Du-Nan's eyes, Xianijia was just an ant that could be killed at any time. He did not care about his life or death. If that was the case, Lin Yi would certainly let him know who was the ant. Since you're scared to death, just admit defeat. Then come here and kowtow. If you do that, we, the Qingkuan sect, will consider sparing your Green Cloud sect's life. Immortal Du-Nan said arrogantly. It seemed that his biggest backer, Immortal Du-Nan, was here. Lin Yi did not bother to pay attention to him. Immortal Du-Nan, who had just performed the Heaven and Earth step, impressed Lin Yi. But now, Immortal Du-Nan's IQ seemed to have plummeted. If Lin Yi really paid attention to him, his IQ would plummet as well. Since the #1 nascent soul cultivator is here, we, the Green Cloud sect, can only find a random disciple to deal with him. The sarcasm on Lin Yi's face became more and more obvious. He turned around and waved at Yu-Yi, who was in the last row of the Green Cloud sect. Yu-Yi, come here! Ha ha ha, is it finally my turn? Lin Yi, you little bastard. You still have to rely on my strength in the end. Ha ha ha. Yu-Yi laughed wildly in his heart. He felt that the time for him to dominate the world had finally come. But on the surface, he still put on a respectful look. When he heard Lin Yi's call, he immediately ran over, not daring to waste a second. Uncle Master, what instructions do you have for me? Because it was in front of others, Yu-Yi followed Lin Yi's instructions and also called Lin Yi Uncle Master. Although the seniority was much lower, Yu-Yi felt that he did not need to call him Master or anything. It was really great. You go up this time. Just deal with this #1 nascent soul cultivator. Lin Yi said lightly and waved his hand to signal Yu-Yi to go up. Yu-Yi still bowed and cupped his fists and said respectfully, Yes, Uncle Master. Lin Yi was very keen to notice the smile on the corner of Yu-Yi's mouth. He guessed that this guy must be thinking in his heart, what bullshit half-step profound ascension. Do I need Master you to deal with it? I can blow him away with a breath, I can drown him with a spit, and so on. It had to be said that Lin Yi really understood Yu-Yi. Although it was not a very accurate description, it was basically the same. When Spiritual Master Dunan saw that Lin Yi sent out a disciple that he had never heard of, he was slightly startled. He thought to himself, what the hell is this? Are you looking down on me, the #1 nascent soul cultivator in the ancient small Jianghu? Ha ha ha. Senior Brother Dunan, the Green Cloud sect, is really afraid. Seeing that Senior Brother is going up, no one dares to come out. They can only send the weakest disciple to deal with it. If he dies, then so be it. It's really ridiculous. Spiritual Master Du Nan thought that he had seen through the truth and said with a laugh. Although Lin Yi said to deal with it, the meaning of the two was obviously completely different. Chapter 56:22. However, Immortal Du Nan was a half-step mysterious ascension cultivator, the top cultivator in the primitive Jianghu. It was beneath his dignity to fight a weakling in the foundation establishment stage. If he had not agreed to fight, Immortal Du Nan would have turned around and left. Did the Green Cloud sect come up with this disgusting trick because they knew they couldn't defeat him? Immortal Du Nan was enraged. After he stood still on the stage, he looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle and said coldly and arrogantly, "Nobody, it's your honor to be killed by me. I'll give you a chance. Tell me your name and come here to die." Yu Yi was furious at once. "Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you ask me to tell you my name? Do you think you are Lin Yi? It's my honor to die in your hands. I'll beat you to death and let you know what an honor is." Yu Yi cursed him in his mind out of habit, but he was not polite with his words. Immortal Du Nan was not Lin Yi, so he had no scruples. "Are you deaf? Can't you hear Marshal Granduncle Lin Yi call you Yi? Is it because I haven't beaten you for a long time? Are you itching for a beating?" Immortal Du Nan was furious. As the top cultivator in the primitive Jianghu, no one had dared to scold him with such vulgar words for many years. Even his sworn enemy, the invincible primordial sect, would not do that. This disciple of the Green Cloud sect, who came out of nowhere, must be tired of living. "You're courting death." Immortal Du Nan shouted in a low voice. He moved and appeared in front of Yu Yi. Then he quickly slapped Yu Yi's face. According to Immortal Du Nan's calculation, this casual slap was enough to send the stupid disciple of the Blue Cloud sect's head flying. Such a violent killing blow could not only relieve the resentment in his heart, but also serve as a great deterrent to the other sections. However, to Immortal Du Nan's disbelief, under his lightning-fast slap, the nameless man actually had time to stretch himself and then return to slap. The slap landed on Immortal Du Nan's face cleanly and cleanly. All of a sudden, the world in Immortal Du Nan's eyes turned upside down. Before he could react, he had fallen to the edge of the ring with a bang. After rolling for a few times, he stopped at the edge of the ring, unlike Exionejia, who directly got out of the ring. What kind of speed was this? What kind of strength was this? Immortal Du Nan kept spitting out blood, but he was still thinking about this question. Although Reverend Du Nan's slap was just a casual one, he was quite confident that there were no more than 6 people in the ancient small Jianghu who could react and defend against it. And there were no more than 2 people who could fight back after defending against it. But not only did he not defend himself, he even stretched himself and then fought back. Immortal Du Nan had never heard of such a thing. Immortal Du Nan could not accept the fact that someone he had never heard of appeared in front of him. Yu Yi waved his hand, curled his lips, and said, "You're so thick-skinned, old man. My hand hurts. Get up. I haven't had enough fun yet." "Ha ha ha ha. I must give you full marks for my acting skills. Lin Yi, you little bastard, what do you think?" Yu Yi couldn't help glancing at Lin Yi, only to find that Lin Yi was looking at him with a faint smile. He quivered and thought to himself, "I shouldn't be too complacent, or I'll make Lin Yi a little bastard." So Yu Yi smiled obsequiously at Lin Yi, turned around, and ran to Reverend Du Nan. Yu Yi didn't use his full strength just now, because he wanted to keep Reverend Du Nan alive so that he could continue to torture him. What Reverend Du Nan said just now had offended Yu Yi. Didn't he know that only Master Yu could say those words? Unfortunately, it was the first time that Yu Yi had used the power of a cultivator at the mysterious ascension stage, so he didn't know how much genuine qi he should use. Besides, Reverend Du Nan was not prepared at all, so the simple slap made Reverend Du Nan spit out blood continuously. He didn't even have the chance to take a recover pill, and he died before Yu Yi arrived. F***CK, you're not dead, right? Don't die. Yu felt that Reverend Dunan's breath was disappearing quickly, so he immediately grabbed his collar and slapped him a few times. Then he shouted anxiously, "Are you made of paper? You're so weak. I haven't made you feel honored. Don't die." Reverend Dunan, who was standing on the side, felt cold all over. He wanted to say that even if his senior fellow apprentice was not dead, he would die after being tortured by Yu. However, it seemed that he didn't even have the strength to speak and could only stand there, trembling. Reverend Dunan, the most powerful cultivator in the ancient small Jianghu, the leader of the four sects, the Qingkuan sect, was killed by a slap. It happened right in front of them, but everyone felt that it was so unreal. Was it a dream? Was it a dream? Everyone was shocked, and there was no sound. Therefore, Yu Yi's scream and the crisp slap on Reverend Dunan's face became clearer. Finally, someone came to himself and shouted, "The mysterious ascension stage!" The shout seemed to call back everyone's soul. All of a sudden, everyone burst into the strongest sound wave, screaming, roaring, and hysterical shouting. The mysterious ascension stage. The legendary mysterious ascension stage. The legendary mysterious ascension stage that had never appeared in the ancient small Jianghu for thousands of years. In the huge sound wave, Reverend Dunan's face turned pale and he was about to fall. He never thought that besides the unfathomable Lin Yi, there was a super powerful cultivator in the mysterious ascension stage in the Green Cloud sect. Why was there a cultivator in the mysterious ascension stage? Had the restriction of the mysterious ascension stage in the ancient, small Jianghu been broken? Enough, Lin Yi said lightly. His voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard by Yu Yi through the huge noise around him. Yu Yi's body shook, and he realized that he was now representing the Green Cloud sect. This kind of behavior, which was equivalent to whipping a corpse, was indeed a disgrace to the Green Cloud sect. From Lin Yi's voice, he could feel that Lin Yi seemed to be a little unhappy. "It's not easy for me to be happy, but Lin Yi, the little bastard, comes to get in my way again. When I deceive you and increase my level and get out of your control, I will return what I owe to you today." Yu Yi thought fiercely, but he had already left Reverend Dunan's body and appeared beside Lin Yi like a flash of lightning. "Uncle Master, I have completed my task. I wanted to deal with him a few more times, but I didn't expect that the most powerful cultivator in the nascent soul realm was no different from a piece of paper." Yu Yi bowed and reported to Lin Yi with a big smile on his face. Chapter 56:23. It was fine if they didn't know before, but now even a fool would understand that Yu Yi was a genuine master of the profound ascending stage. However, this master of the mysterious ascending stage talked to Lin Yi so respectfully and flatteringly. He called Lin Yi Grandmaster. Lin Yi was also in the mysterious ascending stage. In the world of cultivators, the strong were respected. Even if Lin Yi was really a Grandmaster, when the strength of the younger generation reached the same level, they would become the same generation. Yu Yi continued to call Lin Yi Grandmaster, which only proved that Lin Yi's strength was above Yu Yi's. However, when they thought about it, it did not seem strange at all. Xianijia and the others in the full cycle of nascent soul realm also addressed Lin Yi as Grand Uncle Master. They did not think about it before and thought that it was just an honorific title for Lin Yi. Now everyone understood that Lin Yi's strength had really surpassed the nascent soul realm. Lin Yi snorted and said, "Don't talk nonsense. You're still the one in the third round. Don't kill him so quickly this time, understand?" Yu Yi was suddenly excited. He quickly patted his chest and said, "Don't worry, Grand Master. I will be careful. I won't kill him so quickly. I will definitely kill him after a while." Tribulation Jinren had been paying attention to the situation here. If he did not pay attention to the appearance of a mysterious ascending stage cultivator, wouldn't he be courting death? When he heard the conversation between Lin Yi and Yu Yi, he was completely dumbfounded. They still want to fight. How to fight? Was he going to be a punching bag to be beaten? The universe step was indeed exquisite and profound. But when the gap in strength was large to a certain extent, no matter how exquisite a martial technique was, it would be useless. It was just like how a supercar, no matter how cool its appearance and performance was, would immediately fall apart and turn into a pile of junk if it was hit head-on by a bulldozer. Exainegia looked at Tribulation Jinren with a smile and squinted his eyes and asked, Tribulation Jinren, who will be the one in the third round? You won't be the one to fight, right? Ha ha ha. If it's really you, then let me give you a piece of advice. Hurry up and leave behind your last words. Although this time it's just an ordinary disciple of our sect, and not the #1 expert of half-step profound ascension, I'm worried that you won't even have the chance to beg for mercy. F*CK, your ordinary disciple. F*CK, your half-step profound ascension. Of course, a profound ascension expert was not a half-step profound ascension expert. A profound ascension expert was an ordinary disciple? Who are you trying to fool? Immortal Dujia was too tired to complain. He didn't even care about what Exainegia said just now. Now he just wanted to save his own life. After all, no one wanted to die easily after reaching such a high level of cultivation. We, the Heaven and Earth sect, will not participate in the third round. The Heaven and Earth sect will directly admit defeat. Congratulations to the Green Cloud sect for becoming one of the new top 4 sects. Sage Du Jia squeezed out an ugly smile, cupped his hands, and said insincerely, there was no other way. Facing a profound ascension expert, Sage Du Jia did not even dare to think of resisting. If he admitted defeat, he might have a chance to make a comeback in the future. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. Yu Yi was suddenly unhappy. He pulled a long face and pointed at Sage Du Jia and said, Hey, what's your name? Do you have any backbone? How can you do such a thing like admitting defeat? Is the Heaven and Earth sect shameless? Hurry up and let's fight for 300 rounds. I promise I won't kill you. Sage Du Jia turned around and left. Facing this kind of shameless profound ascension expert, it was useless to say anything. He couldn't beat him, and if he said too much, he would come up and fight, and then he couldn't beat him. What else was there to say? Looking at Yu Yi, who was cursing on the stage, the onlookers were also dumbfounded. Was this the legendary profound ascension expert? Why did they feel that something in their heart had collapsed? Lin Yi was also speechless. After this, Yu Yi changed his face. He really began to be completely shameless. His personality changed a bit too much. Was he schizophrenic? Could it be that little E still had some divine sense? But little E didn't seem to be like this. This was a bit like his master, ancestor Xianqin. After quickly calling Yu Yi back, Lin Yi said to the great elder of the ruins town, who was dumbfounded, The result is out. Can you announce it now? Ah. The grand elder of ruins town looked at Lin Yi, a little dazed. He subconsciously agreed twice before coming back to his senses. But now he was also very embarrassed. The Heaven and Earth sect was no longer the 4 big sects, but the 10 small sections. As the great elder of the ruins town who came from the Heaven and Earth sect, what kind of great elder of the ruins town was he? Lin Yi frowned slightly and also understood the situation of the great elder of the ruins town. He waved his hand casually and said, You continue to host anyway. You are familiar with the process. There is no need to add more trouble. Yes, this old man understands. The great elder of the ruins town had a cold sweat on his back. He didn't dare to say anything more. In his heart, he thought that he didn't offend Lin Yi and the Green Cloud sect too much before, right? Would they find fault in the future? The Green Cloud sect challenged the Heaven and Earth sect. Best of 3. The Green Cloud sect won and became one of the new 4 big sects. Everyone congratulate them. The great elder of the ruins town took the lead to applaud with a smile on his face, but his heart was bleeding and crying. The Green Cloud Sect's ascension was stepping on the corpse of the Heaven and Earth sect. He had to take the lead to applaud and congratulate them. How humiliating! Lin Yi signaled Exionija, the leader of the Green Cloud sect, to go up and express his gratitude. Exionija knew that Lin Yi was not willing to do it, so he could only happily go up and thank him. To be able to see the Green Cloud sect become one of the 4 big sects, Exionija really felt like he was in a dream. A year ago, he was just a low-level golden elixir realm candidate elder in the Green Cloud sect, but now he was one of the leaders of the 4 big sects and families. What could be more unbelievable than this? After a moment, the great elder of the ruins town continued. The new 4 big sects have been born. Now we will begin the ranking of the 4 big sects. Wait, now that the Green Cloud sect has ascended, our Thousand Blades faction should be able to continue to challenge the 4 big sects, right? Primordial Invincible suddenly interrupted. Ma Zedin suddenly became anxious. The Green Cloud sect directly challenged the Heaven and Earth sect, and now it was almost certain that they could become the leader of the 4 big sections. What a joke! If the Green Cloud sect was not the leader of the 4 big sects, who would be? Of course, this was not the point. The point was, if the Thousand Blades faction wanted to challenge the 4 big sects, who would be their target? Without a doubt, it would be the close ally of the Heaven and Earth sect, the 5 Elements sect. In the past few days, the 5 Elements sect and the Heaven and Earth sect often fought against the Green Cloud sect and his partners. The Thousand Blades faction lost their old rival, the Heaven and Earth sect, then only the 5 Elements sect was left. Chapter 56-24. The great elder of the ruins town had been mocking the Thousand Blades sect just now. Naturally, he didn't want the Thousand Blades sect to have a chance to challenge them. However, the Thousand Blades sect and the Jadian sect had a close relationship. Now that the Jadian sect was in power, it didn't seem wise to target the Thousand Blades sect. Anyway, the Chinquan sect had gone down. What did the life and death of the 5 Elements sect have to do with him? Thus, the great elder of the ruined town decided to just pretend to be dead. The great elder of the ruins town didn't speak, but Dana stood up to support Ma Zedin and said, Master Ma is right. There has never been only one nascent soul stage in the history of the 4 great sects. So although the Thousand Blades sect is qualified to challenge the 4 great sects, they're not qualified to become one of the 4 great sects. Don't you think so, great elder? Dana said with a smile. Finally, he threw the topic to the great elder of the ruins town who was pretending to be dead. Anyway, the Chinquan sect had already gone down. Who cared about the great elder of the ruins town? It was better to take advantage of him when there was a chance. The great elder of the ruins town cursed Dana in his heart. But after all, he was the host of the archaic grand meeting. He could only bite the bullet and say, well, the rules do say so. But now the new generation has a new atmosphere. Whether we should continue to abide by the rules of the 4 great sects can still be discussed. What he meant was, go fight among yourselves. Don't drag me down with you. But this problem was not a problem anymore. Primordial Invincible laughed and said, a nascent soul great perfection is indeed not qualified to be one of the 4 great sects. But who told you that I am nascent soul great perfection? Everyone was stunned. They looked at Primordial Invincible in confusion. Although they didn't say anything, they already had some bad guesses in their hearts. Then they found that they could get rid of the guesses and directly turn it into a bad feeling. Primordial Invincible looked around proudly, completely unleashing his aura. The powerful pressure he exuded caused everyone present to be unable to muster any thoughts of resisting. Compared to the aura Yu-E had unleashed earlier, this aura was even stronger. Yu-E was gnashing his teeth in hatred. He thought that Lin-E was a little bastard. He actually raised Primordial Invincible to the profound ascension stage, and he was even stronger than me. I just became the number 1 of the world in the archaic small world, and in the blink of an eye, I became the number 2. Ma Zedon was really dumbfounded this time. With a profound ascending stage, all cabbages planted in the ground now. When the time came, he would be able to casually pull one out. When Invincible Primeval was at the peak of the nascent soul stage, Ma Zedon didn't think that 5-element sect would be Invincible Primeval's opponent. After all, the challenge rules allowed experts like Invincible Primeval to fight continuously, let alone now. No, if this goes on, the 5-element sect will be destroyed. Although the Heaven Awakening faction is weaker, the Primordial Invincible is already at the profound ascension stage. There is no difference between the 5-element sect and the Heaven Awakening faction. Because of Lin E, the Primordial Invincible will definitely challenge our 5-element sect. I must think of a way. Cold sweat dripped from Ma Zedon's forehead. Thoughts flashed through her mind, and the expression on her face changed rapidly. Finally, she shouted, "Our 5-element sect has made an important decision. We will become a subordinate sect of Blue Cloud Sect and learn alchemy from Master Lin. Master Lin's alchemy ability is simply earth-shattering. Today, I, Ma Zedon, will become Master Lin's disciple. Master Lin, Martial Uncle, please accept Disciple Ma Zedon." Spiritual Master Du Jie's eyes turned black. This bastard Ma Zedon was too cunning. He actually came up with such a shameless idea. He was even more shameless than that Yui. Why did Qinkuin's sect choose such a person as an ally? It was normal for them to fail. The Primordial Invincible Primeval was startled. He originally planned to challenge the 5-element sect. After all, it was second only to Qinkuin's sect that was against Lin E. But after Ma Zedon's move, the Primordial Invincible Primeval was a little hesitant. He turned to look at Lin E. Lin E was also a little stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect Ma Zedon's move. Martial Uncle, although our 5-element sect's alchemy ability is a bit poor, we have many alchemists. As long as we can get the guidance of Martial Granduncle, our 5-element sect's alchemy ability will definitely be greatly improved, so that Martial Granduncle can have more time to cultivate. Martial Uncle, please give me a chance. Ma Zedon completely threw caution to the wind. If she couldn't convince Lin E, the 5-element sect would be kicked out of the top 4 sections. Moreover, Ma Zedon felt that what she said was very reasonable. This was simply a genius idea, turning crisis into opportunity. In terms of wit, I, Ma Zedon, want to ask who else can do it? Lin E pinched his chin and thought for a moment. He couldn't deny that he was moved by Ma Zedon's last few words. Indeed, with the 5-element sect's help, Lin E would be able to save a lot of trouble. Furthermore, in this small world, Lin E himself wasn't able to concoct any pills. So, if he accepted Ma Zedon, he would gain a lot of benefits. Therefore, Lin E readily nodded and said, "All right, then, from today onwards, the 5-element sect will become our Blue Cloud Sect's subordinate sect." As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd burst into an uproar once again. A sect of the 4 great sects becoming a sect of another 4 great sects was something that had never happened before. But now, it had been decided with just a few words? Wasn't this a little too hasty? Since Lin E had spoken, Primordial Invincible couldn't continue challenging the 5-element sect. Since he couldn't challenge the Shangguan clan, then there was only the Enlightenment faction left. In order to prevent the Enlightenment faction from joining Lin E or the Blue Cloud sect, Primordial Invincible quickly pointed at Qi Danyi and said, "The Thousand Blades sect challenges the Enlightenment faction." The Thousand Blades sect challenges the Enlightenment faction. The rules remain the same. Both sides, please come onto the stage. The great elder of the ruined town immediately announced. He didn't care about the rise and fall of the top 4 sections. Since the Qiankuin sect was already one of the top 10 sects, it didn't matter to him who would come up first. Primordial Invincible stepped onto the stage and nodded at Qi Danyi. "Are you going to come up? Do you want to admit defeat now?" Qi Danyi was stunned, but he knew that Primordial Invincible was right. facing a mysterious Ascension cultivator. He had to admit defeat before the fight even started. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have the chance to do so. Taoist Du Nan was a living example. Well, he wasn't alive anymore, he was dead. Senior Invincible, it's natural for me to admit defeat. But before that, can I ask you a few questions? Chi Daniai said to Primordial Invincible with a big smile on his face. It seemed like he would do whatever Primordial Invincible wanted to do. Chapter 56:25. Good. Senior Invincible indeed has the demeanor of a senior expert. You are indeed a role model for our generation. Chi Dayuan praised Invincible Primordial once again. Invincible frowned impatiently. What is it? Hurry up and ask. Don't talk nonsense. Chi Dani stopped his flattery and asked slowly, Invincible Senior, I really want to know, how did I break through to the profound ascension stage? You also know that I've been stuck in the nascent soul stage for many years. If you can give me some pointers, I'll be very grateful. It wasn't just Chi Dani who wanted to know. Everyone wanted to know. This was related to the interests of everyone in the Jianghu. Invincible didn't look at Lin Yi but shook his head. It's just a coincidence, I won't tell you the process. So you can ask another question. It was related to Lin Yi without Lin Yi's permission. Invincible wouldn't tell anyone. There was no need to ask Lin Yi. Chi Dani already knew that Invincible wouldn't tell him the truth. So he shook his head and said with regret, What a pity! If I knew this, maybe I would have a chance to break through to the profound ascension stage. Invincible didn't say anything. In fact, he didn't think that Chi Dani would be able to replicate it. After all, without Lin Yi's pill and lightning punishment, even if he told Chi Dani the truth, he wouldn't be able to break through to the profound ascension stage. 2 more questions, Invincible urged. He didn't have the patience to listen to Chi Dani's nagging. The second question, I want to know, where did you break through to the profound ascension stage? If it's possible, please tell me and let me go there to look for opportunities. If he could get the answer from Invincible's mouth, it would be a good harvest. But Invincible still didn't answer. That place was chosen by Lin Yi, who knew if it had any special meaning for Lin Yi. The third question, Invincible said coldly, obviously losing patience with this kind of question and answer. Chi Dani giggled and said, The third question is, can Senior Undefeated tell me how the Thousand Blade sect is preparing to rebuild? In the future, we can talk about the recruitment of disciples. Primordial Invincible opened his mouth to refuse, but Chi Dani quickly said, Senior Invincible, you didn't answer the first 2 questions. You should answer the last one, right? It's not like it's something difficult. There's no way you can't say it, right? Lin Yi frowned slightly. It was obvious that Chi Dani had set a trap for Primordial Invincible to fall into. He really wanted to know the answers to the first 2 questions, but he knew that Primordial Invincible wouldn't say them easily, so it didn't matter whether he got the answers or not. In the end, he added the guilt of not answering the first 2 questions onto the third one, making Primordial Invincible feel bad not answering. As for the third question, it wasn't something that could be answered in a few sentences. Chi Dani was clearly stalling for time. Was he waiting for a turning point? Or was he waiting for someone to appear? Chi Dani's plan was good. If it was someone else, they might have chosen to say a few more words because they didn't answer the first 2 questions. Unfortunately, they didn't understand Primordial Invincible. Primordial Invincible only used 1 sentence to dismiss Chi Dani's explanation. It's a secret of the sect. No comment. Chi Dani was depressed. What was so secret about this? Couldn't he just say a few words? I've asked the 3 questions. Can you admit defeat now? Primordial Invincible asked without changing his expression. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Senior Invincible, shouldn't you at least answer one of the 3 questions? Chi Dani was still unwilling to give up, but he couldn't help looking around as he spoke. This made Lin Yi even more certain that Chi Dani was stalling for time. Cut the crap. Since you don't want to admit defeat, I'm going to make my move. Primordial Invincible said coldly and raised his hand, ready to attack. Chi Danei was anxious. He wanted to say something, but suddenly his face lit up with joy. He shouted, "It's here!" Lin Yi's divine sense had already discovered that there was a flying saucer-like aircraft rapidly approaching Ruined Town. In the blink of an eye, it arrived above Ruined Town. The center. They had finally intervened in the primordial grand meeting. Lin Yi's heart sank. The center's sudden appearance at this time could only mean that things had developed in the worst direction. After the blue flood dragon's gene was extracted, it was used in a mature experiment in the shortest time possible. Therefore, the center's research had already succeeded. The only thing he didn't expect was that the Enlightening Heavens faction would actually make contact with the center. He hadn't noticed any signs of this before. Chi Danei really hit it well. Primordial Invincible looked up at the sky. The flying saucer-like aircraft was hovering right above Ruined Town. When he looked up, he saw that there was an opening in the middle of the flying saucer. Many figures were jumping out of the opening. The reinforcements of the Enlightening Heavens faction? Do you think you can keep the 4 seats of the Enlightening Heavens faction just because you have more people? Primordial Invincible sneered. In fact, if you had just said that there would be reinforcements, this old man would have waited for you. Why bother talking so much nonsense? Primordial Invincible had just broken through nascent soul stage. He was full of confidence. As long as Chi Danei said that he would wait for someone, Primordial Invincible would indeed wait for him. There was no need to play those boring little tricks. Chi Danei's face stiffened. He ignored Primordial Invincible and turned to the 2 people who landed first. Elder Shui, Elder Qin, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Finally, you're here. Ha 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 ha. The main character will only appear at the last moment. Those small fries are only qualified to warm up the scene for this young master. The one laughing crazily was Lin Yi's nemesis since he came to the ancient Zhanghu, Shui Jianfeng. This cockroach-like man with an unkillable attribute had finally jumped out after a period of silence. As for the other person, Lin Yi also knew him. Xianijia and the others were not unfamiliar with him either. He was the original deputy head of Jadian faction, Qin Dongqing. Lin Yi almost couldn't recognize Qin Dongqing when he suddenly appeared. Other than the fact that Qin Dongqing was not a threat to Lin Yi, his entire temperament was completely different. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be sure that he was the previous deputy head of Jadian faction. Chapter 56-26. Qin Dongqing laughed and cooperated. What Lin Yi, what Green Cloud sect, they are just trash. How can they compare to our current Xiaorao? If you like it, Master Shui, you can do whatever you want. Old Chen's words are not very pleasant to hear. Little Lin, don't mind it. Shui, Jianfeng smiled and said to Lin Yi, Old Qin did not say that you are trash. He said that you are all trash. Don't hear wrong. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, 2 pieces of trash. Did they just crawl out from the garbage dump? What a stinky smell. Shui Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing were already at the early stage of the profound ascension realm, and they did not hold back at all. They thought that they could suppress Lin Yi, but they did not expect that Lin Yi was completely fine, and even mocked them in return. These were people who had suffered a great loss in the hands of Lin Yi, and thinking of Lin Yi's unpredictability, they could not figure out Lin Yi's actual situation, and their arrogance suddenly dropped a lot. In fact, Lin Yi also had a headache at the moment, not because Shui Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing were at the early stage of the profound ascension realm, but because Shui Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing were at the early stage of the profound ascension realm. Lin Yi did not put them in his eyes. The key was that Shui Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing had become profound ascension realm. It meant that the sea beast Blue Jiao had been used for experiments, and he did not know if it was dead or not. If it was dead, then the sea beasts in the endless sea would riot again. As for whether Shui Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing really used the Blue Jiao to reach the early stage of the profound ascension realm, Lin Yi did not doubt at all, because both of them had the aura of sea beasts, although it was not strong, but Lin Yi's feeling would not be wrong. Qi did not see that Xue Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing had some inexplicable fear in their hearts. He only saw the powerful aura of Xue Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing. It was not inferior to the primordial invincible, and even better. And from the flying saucer in the sky, there were still people continuously jumping down. Although there were no profound ascension realm masters, but they were all nascent soul realm masters, a total of about 400 to 500, who knew how the metal disc that did not look very big could hold so many people. Among them, there were at least 100 people who were as strong as Cheetah, 100 nascent soul realm masters. Such amazing strength was enough to sweep all the sects present. Ha 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 ha! Our Heaven Awakening faction also has an important decision to announce. However, we are not going to rely on other sections. Instead, we're going to merge with the center and form a new center Heaven Awakening faction. Qi Dane laughed loudly as he announced, seeing the profound ascending stage experts appearing one after another. He couldn't wait to become a profound ascending stage expert. Originally, he didn't dare to believe it, but the appearance of Xue Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing made him know that he had a high chance of successfully entering the profound ascending stage. As long as you join the center, you can become a profound ascending stage cultivator. Qi's Dare could not resist such a temptation, and very few people could. Lin Yi glanced at the excited Qi Danei and instantly understood a lot of things. Putting aside the delay just now, when he helped Qin Kuan Sek's tribulation transcendence immortal to delay time, he was actually helping himself to delay time. Apart from that, Lin Yi also suspected that Qi Dai was also involved in the capture of the oceanic beast royalty. Otherwise, Qi Dai wouldn't be so surprised by Xue Jianfeng's and Qin Dongqing's strength. Cheetah Nei, have you colluded with the center and helped them capture the royal sea beasts in the endless sea? Lin Yi suddenly asked. Qi Danei was slightly startled and then smiled sinisterly. I didn't join the center long ago. I just contacted Master Xue recently. I have to thank you for all this. If it wasn't for the rise of the Jadian sect, I wouldn't have needed to prepare for a rainy day. If it wasn't for your threat, maybe I wouldn't have been able to get this opportunity to enter the profound ascension stage. Recently? You mean before the hunting of the oceanic beasts in the endless sea? Lin Yi glanced at Xue Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing, snorted and said, the center captured the oceanic beast royalty at such a coincidental time. Don't say that you were not the one behind it. The two nascent soul stage masters from Qinkuan sect and Five Elements sect were probably instigated by you to go, right? Qi Danei was secretly surprised. He didn't know how Lin Yi saw through all this, but as Lin Yi said, these things were all pushed by him behind the scenes. But these things had no connection at all on the surface, and there wouldn't be any clues left. How did Lin Yi know? The messy threads in Lin Yi's mind had gradually been straightened out. Originally, he really wouldn't connect all this, but the moment he saw Qi Danei and Xue Jianfeng working together, he slowly pushed it back and actually figured out a lot of things that he didn't think of before. Seeing that Qi Danei didn't speak, Lin Yi continued, you secretly informed the center about the time we 10 little ones killed the oceanic beasts. With us diverting the attention of the oceanic beasts, the center can capture the oceanic beast royalty without attracting too much attention. At the same time, they can also put the blame of the oceanic beast royalty on our heads, diverting the trouble to us. Tribulation Master Jinren and Ma Zedin, the two allies who had already turned against each other, couldn't help but look at each other. The truth was, as Lin Yi said, they sent two nascent soul stage masters, and it was indeed instigated by Qi Danei. Moreover, Qi Danei clearly said that they couldn't touch Lin Yi, so they had to deal with the likes of Thousand Blades faction and Snow Sword faction. At the same time, they could cut off Lin Yi's wings, and at the same time vent their anger. Now that they thought about it, perhaps it wasn't that simple. Lin Yi smiled coldly, glanced at the audience, and continued. Let me guess, you instigated the Chinquan sect and the Five Elements sect. In fact, you also had the intention of weakening them, right? This is a good plan that kills 3 birds with 1 stone. No matter how things develop, you can not only help the center's action, but also weaken the strength of the Chinquan sect and the Five Elements sect, and at the same time, attack all the 10 small sects and families. The capture of the oceanic beast royalty will definitely cause the oceanic beasts to riot. This is your plan. If there is no accident except for the people of the center, everyone else will be buried in the endless sea. The audience was in an uproar. Lin Yi's words sounded a little unbelievable, but they were completely reasonable. If it weren't for the unexpected factor of Lin Yi, the result would be exactly the same as what Lin Yi said, that everyone who entered the endless sea would be buried in the oceanic beasts' riot. If things really developed in this way, it would be even easier for the Enlightened Heavens faction to occupy the ancient small Jianghu. As long as the center killed immortal Du Nan of the Chinquan sect, there would basically be no obstacles. Fishman's new book, School Bell President Relies on Me, is being serialized. I recommend everyone to read it. Please add the public account of Fishman's QQ Guru Fishman 2 and WeChat public account Urine22 for all kinds of latest news and the latest news of Fishman to be continued. Chapter 56-27. He didn't even need the center to do anything, because one of the conditions for Qi Dane to join the center and help them catch the blue dragon was that Xue Jianfeng promised to help him become a profound ascending stage master. It was a pity that Lin Yi messed up their entire plan, and the appearance of Yu Yi and Primordial Invincible was out of Qi University's expectations. Qi University had no choice but to announce the merger of Qi University's faction with the center, forming a nondescript central Qi Tian faction. Nonsense. Qi Dane's face was gloomy. Although Lin Yi said almost all the truth, Qi Dane wouldn't admit it easily. After all, he still wanted to lead all the sects in the immemorial small Jianghu. Moreover, there were sea beasts in the endless sea involved. No one knew if the sea beasts would hear these things or not. Primordial Invincible, weren't you always in a hurry to challenge the center's Heaven Awakening faction? Why are you mute? After Qi Dane scolded Lin Yi, he simply changed the topic and challenged the Primordial Invincible. The Primordial Invincible looked at Qi Dane coldly and said, "This old man is waiting for your last words. Are you ready to die? We'll know who's coming to die soon." Qi Dane sneered and turned to Xue Jianfeng and said, "Elder Xue, I'll have to trouble you with this reckless thing." "No problem. This young master wants to stretch my arms and legs. This old guy is a good sandbag." Xue Jianfeng returned to his previous arrogant style. As long as the opponent wasn't Lin Yi, he felt that he wouldn't lose. Without waiting for the great elder to announce the start of the battle, Xue Jianfeng flew towards the Primordial Invincible. He didn't even take out his long sword and directly punched. In terms of battle experience, Primordial Invincible, who was once the #1 nascent soul cultivator, was naturally much stronger than Xue Jianfeng. Normally, when facing an opponent who was slightly stronger than oneself, one should avoid the brunt of the attack when the opponent was unprepared. However, this time, Primordial Invincible did not have such a plan. Instead, he took a step forward and punched out. This was the pride of the Primordial Invincible. How could the former #1 Yuanying stage cultivator, who is now a master of the mysterious ascending stage, retreat and dodge in a confrontation with a junior? In the loud bang, the huge airwaves spread in all directions. Chen Dongqing and Qi Danei had already retreated from the ring, and the aftermath of the fight between the two even made the protective inhibition formation on the edge of the ring to make a cracking sound, as if it was about to break. The audience below the stage all exclaimed and retreated. This was a battle between two profound ascending stage masters. Once they were affected, they would not even have the chance to resist. If the battle between Tribulation Immortal and X Enigia was said to be a battle of skills, Then the battle between Xue Jianfeng and Primordial Invincible Warrior was a simple battle of strength without any fancy tricks. After a short stalemate, the clothes on Primordial Invincible Warrior's arm seemed to have fallen into a violent whirlpool, and under the rapid rotation, it instantly shattered into powder until it stopped completely above his shoulder. After a low muffled groan, he took 3 steps back, each step leaving a deep footprint on the hard rock. Xue Jianfeng, on the other hand, slightly shook his body after taking a step back. Then he rushed forward again. In the first round, it was obvious that the Primordial Invincible Warrior was at a disadvantage. Lin Yi's face was solemn. The Primordial Invincible Warrior was the strongest among the 3 mysterious ascending stage cultivators that he had promoted. After all, he was the one with the deepest accumulation and the strongest foundation. But even so, he was still no match for Xue Jianfeng. His ability was indeed unfathomable. Invincible, Xue Jianfeng has integrated the gene of the sea beast. His body is extremely strong. Don't fight him head-on. Lin Yi reminded him using Jin Qi. But in this ever-changing battle, he didn't know if he could help the Primordial Invincible Warrior. After the Primordial Invincible Warrior stabilized his footsteps, Xue Jianfeng had already rushed over again. Lin Yi's voice transmission also came at the same time, so the Primordial Invincible Warrior no longer insisted on fighting head-on. Instead, he raised his hands and hundreds of cold lights flew out from all over his body. It was the Thousand Blades Sect's ultimate skill. 1,000 blades flying together. This time the Primordial Invincible Warrior chose 1,000 blades that were as thin as a cicada's wing. Under the blessing of the 1,000 blades flying together, the speed could reach an amazing level, and with its own sharpness it could be said to be an invincible weapon. Xue Jianfeng laughed. Facing the gorgeous 1,000 blades flying together, he was not afraid at all. The 2 of them exchanged a punch, and then the Primordial Invincible Warrior took the initiative to use his weapon, which proved that Xue Jianfeng was stronger than the Primordial Invincible Warrior. Snow Dance Silver Snake. The temperature of the entire arena plummeted, and in an instant, it was like a drop of water turning into ice. Countless snowflakes appeared out of nowhere, covering every inch of the space, covering Xue Jianfeng's figure. Primordial Invincible Warrior was shocked. These snowflakes were formed from Xue Jianfeng's true qi, and to be able to burst out with such a shocking amount of true qi in an instant, he had to admit that Xue Jianfeng was stronger than him, be it in terms of physical strength or the strength of true qi. The blades of the 1,000 blades flight fell into a difficult situation in the snowflakes. The blades, which were supposed to move with lightning-like speed, were quickly wrapped up by the layers of snowflakes. They all turned into clumsy and slow snowballs, unable to fly anymore. Break! Primordial Invincible Warrior roared, gathering all the true qi in his body and controlling all the blades to collide with each other, shattering the layer of snowflakes and temporarily restoring the blades' mobility. But this situation could not continue. As long as there was no new method, the blades would immediately return to their original state. Amidst the snowflakes, Xue Jianfeng's indistinct and arrogant laughter could be heard. "Ha ha ha, old man, is this all you've got? What a disappointment. You treated those scrap metals like treasures, and here I thought they were very powerful. Let me show you this young master's sword first." Yu Yi, who was below the arena, could not help but curse in his heart. "Xue Jianfeng, you big idiot, do you still need to see your cheap tricks? Your forehead is already full of them, okay?" In the past, when Yu Yi was still Yu Taitsong, it was Xue Jianfeng who dragged him to the center, and later, Yu Taitsong's body was also taken away by Xue Jianfeng. Originally, he thought that with the help of Lin Yi, he had successfully advanced to the profound ascension stage. But he did not expect Xue Jianfeng to be even more powerful. Of course, Yu Yi was unhappy. Chapter 56:28. Amidst the flying snow, a long sword that seemed to be made of ice and snow fell from the sky without a sound. It was like an ordinary snowflake falling, but this snowflake was dangerous enough to take a person's life. Primordial Invincible couldn't find Xue Jianfeng, who was hiding in the snow, and his divine sense couldn't detect any attacks. He could only control the blades that were temporarily separated from the snow to fly around his body, forcing the snow away to create a small space. When the sword above his head entered the empty space, it immediately shed the snow disguise, revealing a piercing, killing intent. Primordial Invincible suddenly raised his head, and all the blades gathered together, forming a simple and unadorned great sword that pierced the sky. The tips of the two swords clashed together without any suspense. Xue Jianfeng's slender and long sword bent slightly, then bounced up. Xue Jianfeng's figure appeared in the snowflakes in the air, and he floated down to the ground. As for the huge sword formed from 1,000 blades, it was rapidly covered in frost from the tip of the sword, and cracks also appeared on the blade. Primordial Invincible's expression was solemn, but he didn't care about the cracks on the great sword. With a wave of his finger, the great sword in the sky scattered into the original 1,000 blades. It was originally scattered, so naturally there was no need to worry about the cracks. As the great sword disintegrated, the frost covering it lost its effect. The blades turned in the air lightly, and the sparkling ice was flung away. Xue Jianfeng chuckled and said, "A little interesting. It's time for this young master to warm up." After saying that, Xue Jianfeng's body swayed, and once again disappeared in the sky full of snow. Primordial Invincible snorted, ignoring Xue Jianfeng, and instead closed his eyes. Since the eyes could lie to him, then he might as well not use them. The 1,000 thin blades let out a clear clanking sound and exploded like a school of startled fish, flying in all directions. This time, the falling snowflakes couldn't trap the blades immediately, leaving clear scratches in the space where the snowflakes danced in the air. "Found it!" Primordial Invincible suddenly opened his eyes, and after a low shout, he put his hands together, and true qi surged. 1,000 blades in one. 10,000 streams returned to origin. The flying blades seemed to have teleported, completely defying the principle of their own inertia. They suddenly disappeared from their original trajectory and gathered at the position that Primordial Invincible had pointed out, turning back into the ancient greatsword. This huge sword carried the force of a thunderbolt as it ruthlessly chopped down, splitting Xue Jianfeng in the snowflakes into two. "Sorry, you found the wrong one." Xue Jianfeng's voice suddenly sounded in Primordial Invincible's ears, and the two halves of Xue Jianfeng's have scattered into a pile of snowflakes. Primordial Invincible's heart skipped a beat. As soon as Xue Jianfeng's voice rang out, he moved to the left. Primordial Invincible's rich battle experience saved his life. The moment Primordial Invincible moved, Xue Jianfeng's long sword stabbed into his back like a venomous snake. If Primordial Invincible hadn't moved, the sword would have pierced through his heart. Even if Lin Yi had attacked him personally, he wouldn't have been able to survive. It was that crucial movement that allowed Xue Jianfeng's long sword to stab into Primordial Invincible's right back and out of his chest. Primordial Invincible's own strength pulled the sword out of his body, cutting through the bones on the right side. Fortunately, Primordial Invincible's arm was raised, or it would have been cut off by the sword. Primordial Invincible, who was severely injured, slammed his left palm on the ground and used the force to change his direction, shooting out like an arrow, causing Xue Jianfeng's follow-up attack to miss. "Oh, you're not bad at running away." Xue Jianfeng looked at Primordial Invincible mockingly, as if he was a cat toying with a mouse. He shook his long sword, shaking off the blood on it. "I admit defeat." Primordial Invincible's face was pale, and the wound on his chest was bleeding profusely. If he didn't admit defeat, he would bleed to death without Xue Jianfeng's help. After experiencing ups and downs, Primordial Invincible was no longer the arrogant and inflexible person he once was. If he knew that he couldn't do it, then he would never do it. He was the only one who could take on the responsibility of reviving the 1,000 Blade sect. Ling Tianyu had potential, but he was still too weak. Primordial Invincible knew that he couldn't die. Such a straightforward surrender made Shui Jianfeng's approaching footsteps stop, but he immediately laughed and said, "Oh, my ears aren't feeling well. I can't hear anything. Let's kill you quickly to heal yourself." Shui Jianfeng's long sword pointed straight at Primordial Invincible's throat. In the blink of an eye, this early-stage mysterious ascendant expert would fall under Shui Jianfeng's sword. He said he admitted defeat. Just as Shui Jianfeng was about to stab Primordial Invincible, Lin Yi's voice suddenly appeared in Shui Jianfeng's ear, just like what Shui Jianfeng did to Primordial Invincible before. Shui Jianfeng, who didn't feel anything, was immediately scared out of his wits. His fear of Lin Yi had already penetrated deep into Shui Jianfeng's bones. Even if Shui Jianfeng was getting stronger and stronger, and thought that his strength was far beyond Lin Yi's, he couldn't erase this subconscious fear. "Ah!" Shui Jianfeng screamed. He couldn't care less about killing Primordial Invincible anymore. He directly turned around and waved his sword, wanting to attack Lin Yi first. Lin Yi sneered. Such a response was simply the worst in the current situation. Lin Yi could already speak in his ear. How could he be hit by Shui Jianfeng's attack? In terms of combat experience, Primordial Invincible was really more than 8 streets ahead of Shui Jianfeng. Unfortunately, his strength was suppressed, and he couldn't see through Shui Jianfeng's moves. That's why Primordial Invincible lost to Shui Jianfeng. There was no special move, nor did it require any fancy technique. Lin Yi just threw a simple slap. Shui Jianfeng just happened to turn around, as if he was rushing to use his face to attack Lin Yi's slap. Then, Shui Jianfeng spun and flew out, landing heavily on the other side of the arena. Lin Yi looked indifferently and waved his hand. "Your face hit my hand, and it hurts. You're really a master of the profound ascension stage." Shui Jianfeng heard the sentence in a daze and directly spat out a mouthful of blood. "You're the one who likes to hit people's hands with your face." But at this moment, Shui Jianfeng really didn't dare to say anything. He was originally very afraid of Lin Yi, and now he was even more frightened. This young master was already at the profound ascension stage. How could he be slapped away? This world was really too fake. Chapter 56:29. Lin Yi, don't mess around. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Chun Dongqing, who was protected by a dozen or so Yuaning stage cultivators, was secretly relieved and immediately shouted at Lin Yi. Lin Yi ignored him and squatted beside Invincible Primeval. He held Invincible Primeval's wrist and took out a 5th grade recover pill and put it into Invincible Primeval's mouth. He said to Invincible Primeval through true chi, "Don't worry, cooperate with the healing." If it was just a 5th grade recover pill, it would not be able to quickly stop the bleeding of Invincible Primeval's wound. But Lin Yi's true chi could do it. In fact, it did not matter if he did not use the 5th grade recover pill. Lin Yi was just using it to deceive people. Chun Dongqing saw that Lin Yi ignored him and seemed to feel a little embarrassed. He continued to say loudly, "Lin Yi, don't think that you are great just because you are powerful. Let me tell you, if you piss me off, I will give an order, and these Yuaning stage cultivators will immediately trample the small Zhenghu in ancient times." Invincible Primeval's injury was quickly controlled, and the remaining 5th grade recover pill could quickly heal it. So Lin Yi retracted his palm and stood up to look at Chun Dongqing. He said with a face full of sarcasm, "So, give an order." Chun Dongqing choked for a moment. If he really wanted to give such an order, he would be a little afraid. After all, this was a last resort. It was just like the nuclear weapons of the secular world. It was okay to say that I don't like you, and I want to throw a nuclear warhead in your face. No one would really use it. If they really used it, it would be a big problem. Lin Yi, don't be too arrogant. Do you think we can't deal with you? I'm not afraid to tell you. We have a secret weapon. Chun Dongqing coughed twice, and suddenly his eyes lit up. He seemed to have thought of something and shouted, Then he pressed something on his wrist, and a set of alloy armor suddenly appeared on his body. It was like the armor in sci-fi movies, and it looked very cool. Lin Yi was surprised, but he was not surprised by the alloy armor. He had seen this thing in the mirage in the Endless Sea. Moreover, Kong Mingming had shown it to Lin Yi on the Heavenly Island, so it was not strange. The key was, how did Qin Dongqing make this armor? This was something that Lin Yi was very interested in. Xue Jianfeng, who was rescued by a few perfected nascent soul realm cultivators, also had his eyes lit up. He burst into laughter and said, "That's right, we have a secret weapon. No matter how powerful you, Lin Yi are, it's useless. See how this young master deals with you." After saying that, Xue Jianfeng also pressed a few times on his wrist, and the same alloy armor appeared out of thin air, enveloping Xue Jianfeng completely. Ha 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 ha. Lin Yi, weren't you supposed to be super strong? Come on, let this young master see how powerful you are. Xue Jianfeng regained his arrogant laughter. With the defense and attack power of this alloy armor, Xue Jianfeng thought that Lin Yi would definitely not be able to break or resist it. If you don't come, then this young master will let you see what is called real power. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows, and a bolt of lightning struck down. Xue Jianfeng immediately stopped talking, and green smoke came out of his head. He fell straight down with his back facing the sky, making a loud bang. So powerful. What an eye-opener. Lin Yi said expressionlessly, and turned to look at Qin Dongqing. Qin Dongqing's whole body trembled, and he quickly put away the alloy armor. His eyes were full of reverence for Lin Yi. He could not understand how such a powerful equipment could be destroyed by Lin Yi so easily. Speaking of which, what was that lightning thing? If Lin Yi wasn't here, the appearance of this armor would be an undefeatable existence in the ancient, small world. Even if a Foundation establishment stage person wore it, they would be able to fight against the undefeatable class of the ancient times, not to mention Xue Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing, who were in the mystic ascension stage. However, on the heavenly stage island, after Han Jingjing's guidance, Lin Yi knew the weakness of this armor. It was made of alloy, and it was an electronic product. These two characteristics determine the fact that it could be easily destroyed by a bolt of lightning. Qin Dongqing sighed in his heart, and at the same time he did not forget to put on a strong front and shouted at Lin Yi. "Lin Yi, don't you dare move. If you dare to move, I will let them kill all the sects in the ancient small underworld. Don't think that I don't dare, I mean it this time." Lin Yi looked at the hundreds of powerful nascent soul stage cultivators and could not help but frown. He thought that even if the center had this kind of technology, there would not be so many materials and people. He did not expect that he had completely underestimated the center. For Lin Yi, these nascent soul stage cultivators were nothing. They would not pose any threat to Lin Yi at all, but the people from other sects were not the same. If Lin Yi wanted to kill all the enemies at once, then he could only use a large area of effect martial arts, such as the Super Dan Firebomb or the Thousand Thunder Explosion. The problem was that these moves were not easy to control. At that time, it was really hard to say which side would die more. Seeing Lin Yi frown, Qin Dongqing secretly rejoiced in his heart. He did not dare to force Lin Yi too much. He quickly took a step back and said, "Lin Yi, how about this? Today, let's not interfere with each other. The undefeatable immemorial stage has been defeated. How about we end the challenge of the 4 great sects? Let's settle the grudges between us in the future, shall we?" Lin Yi was in a difficult position. He did not want to let these people from the center go, but he was also a little hesitant to take action. For a moment, he was in a dilemma. At this moment, the ground shook slightly, and it became more and more obvious. Soon, in the distance outside the ruined town, countless birds rose up. It was obvious that they were alarmed by something. Sea beasts. Lin Yi swept his divine sense over, and an expression of surprise appeared on his face. The agreed time of 3 days was not up yet, and this was not the coast of the primordial mountains. He did not expect that at this critical moment, the sea beasts would actually appear here. In the blink of an eye, a large group of giant turtles, crabs, seals, sea lions, conches. Well, the conches were in the mouth of the sea serpent. They rushed into the ruined town. A sea crab carrying a coiled sea serpent came to the edge of the high platform and stopped directly not far from Lin. The sea serpent ignored the big conch and nodded at Lin. "Human, how's your investigation going? Our king can't wait any longer. So he asked me to bring my men here in advance. If you say that you haven't found anything, then don't blame me for flattening this place first." Lin did not care about the threat in the sea serpent's words at all. This was all timely, the key to breaking the deadlock. Chapter 5630. Chen Dongqing was dumbfounded. What was going on? The sea beasts had come to the land? Was he going to play with the world changing? The clown sea serpent didn't notice it before. After being reminded by Lin, it was stunned for a moment before turning its head to sense Chen Dongqing's aura. It was just as Lin said. This human had the aura of the blue flood dragon. Although it was very faint, it was definitely the aura of the royal sea beasts. There was no mistaking it. Temporarily suppressing the rage in its heart, the clown sea serpent turned around and thanked Lin. "Thank you for your help. You really didn't lie to me. You really helped us. From today onwards, you are a friend of the sea beasts." "My friend, can you tell me where our royal young man is?" The clown sea serpent remembered that the most important thing was to find the blue flood dragon, so it didn't immediately order an attack. Lin smiled and said, "He's not here. Let's get rid of these guys who use the flesh and blood of your people to increase their strength first. Then I'll bring you to find him." "All right." The clown sea serpent agreed readily. It originally wanted to kill Chen Dongqing and the others. Now that Lin had spoken, it was even more of a favor. It would be weird if it didn't agree. After the clown sea serpent let out a high-pitched scream, the army of sea beasts instantly moved. Basically, 2 or 3 of them found a nascent soul stage cultivator in the center and released their respective attacks to their heart's content. The various sects in the immemorial underworld had long been confused by the continuous changes. Logically speaking, when the sea beasts were fighting against the humans, they should be helping the humans. However, those humans were originally trying to kill them, while the sea beasts were trying to save them. This was truly messy. In any case, no one could intervene in a battle of this level. They might as well hide far away to avoid being implicated by the innocent people. The battle started and ended quickly. Under the circumstances that the sea beasts were at the same level, they were stronger than humans. In addition, they had an absolute advantage in numbers. They almost swept the nascent soul stage cultivators in the center with ease. Chen Dongqing was scared out of his wits. Who exactly was Lin? He could even control the sea beasts. How was he supposed to play? Seeing that the situation was not good, Chen Dongqing hurriedly carried Xue Jianfeng and jumped into the air amidst the chaos. He was sucked into the flying saucer and escaped. The clown sea serpent sneered. It had a deep impression of this AI Fu-O. Of course, it would not watch it escape. While the flying saucer was lowering its altitude to support Chen Dongqing, dozens of sea beasts who were already prepared sprayed a type of acidic liquid into the air at the same time. The liquid hit the flying saucer's cabin and corroded a large hole at a speed visible to the naked eye. The flying saucer in the center was shot down. The flying saucer in the center was dragging a long black smoke, with sparks sparkling around the hole. It quickly fell towards the endless sea. It was unknown whether Xue Jianfeng and Chen Dongqing would die like this. The clown sea serpent turned around and instructed, "Go and inform those kids on standby in the sea. If they see the falling metal disc, don't let those guys go." Lin wanted to say that those 2 guys were masters of the profound ascension stage. If it was just some nascent soul stage and gold core stage sea beasts, they probably wouldn't be able to stop them. Unless the two of them were seriously injured when the flying saucer was damaged, then it would be a different story. However, the sea beasts who received the order did not look back. Lin Yi did not say anything in the end. If they wanted to deal with Chen Dongcheng, only Lin Yi would have a chance. Even Yu Yi did not have much confidence. However, Lin Yi did not have time to care about those two guys. If they could escape, they would meet again when they went back to Luo Mountain. There was no need to be in a hurry. Qi Daniai's face was as white as ash. It was a good plan, and victory was in their grasp. But this shit stir Lin Yi messed it up. 4 to 500 Yuaning masters, how powerful were they? However, they were directly crushed by the sea beasts brought by Lin Yi. No matter how clever Qi Daniai was, he would never have thought that this would happen. Lin Yi glanced at Qi Daniai, then looked at Primordial Invincible. Just now, Lin Yi's Qi had almost healed Primordial Invincible. Now he was almost fully recovered. Just now, in the first round, the Thousand Blades sect lost. However, these 4 challenges are best of 3, so the second round can also start. The Thousand Blades sect challenged the Heaven Awakening sect. The Thousand Blades sect sent out Primordial Invincible, who is from the Heaven Awakening sect. Lin Yi looked at Qi Daniai and asked with a smile. Qi Daniai's eyes darkened. How could they still fight? The 2 profound Ascension Stage Masters in the center were defeated by you. Now you're asking me who is going to fight Primordial Invincible. Who would be stupid enough to go and die? Lin Yi turned his head to Primordial Invincible and said, Invincible, your injuries are not healed yet. Don't hold back during the battle. The best way is to end the battle quickly, understand? Understood, I won't hold back. Primordial Invincible nodded solemnly and agreed. After that, he glared at Qi Daniai with murderous eyes. Qi Daniai's heart was extremely sullen. Is it really okay for you to directly say that you want to kill someone? Can't you be more reserved? Primordial Invincible twisted his neck and shoulders and waved his hand. The thin blades that were scattered on the ground returned to his side. He looked at Qi Daniai and said, Are you going to fight in the second round? If you are, then hurry up. Do I still need to ask a question? Can I ask a question? Qi Daniai asked with a sad face. The problem was that it was useless to ask questions now. No matter how much time was wasted, no one would come to save him. Yes. Primordial Invincible nodded and said, Okay, I'm done. Let's start the battle. Qi Daniai was stunned for a moment before he realized what was going on. Can I ask questions? This was also a question. Seeing Primordial Invincible's 1,000 blades in the air, Qi Daniai's eyes rolled back and he fainted. Lin Yi coughed twice and asked the great elder of Ruins Town, who was standing dumbfounded on the side, Shouldn't you say something in this situation? The great elder of Ruins Town was already confused by the series of changes before. Now that Lin Yi asked him, he subconsciously agreed. He shook his head for a while and finally recovered. Chapter 5631. Seeing that Qi Daniai didn't seem to have any intention of waking up, the great elder of the Ruins Town continued. The third round of the 1,000 Blades factions for major challenges begins now. Both parties come on stage. The people of the Awakening Heaven faction looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Qi Daniai was the backbone of the Awakening Heaven faction. If he fainted, whoever went up would die. The problem now was not who would go up to fight Primordial Invincible, but whether or not they should get Qi Daniai off the stage first. Otherwise, fainting on stage was not a solution. However, the great elder of the Ruins Town obviously didn't plan to give the Awakening Heaven faction this chance. After the last sentence, he only paused for a moment before continuing. Both parties have chosen their candidates. The third round of the 4 major challenges begins now. The people of the Awakening Heaven faction were dumbfounded. What was going on? Why was he already on stage? He hadn't even left the stage yet. However, before the people of the Awakening Heavens faction could protest, The great elder of Ruins Town glanced at Chi Dalii again, then announced expressionlessly, "Because the candidate of the Awakening Heavens faction has fainted on the arena, the Thousand Blades faction has won." The Thousand Blades faction versus the Awakening Heaven faction of the Awakening Heaven faction of the 4 major challenges. The Thousand Blades faction won 2 out of 3 rounds and became one of the new 4 major factions. Congratulations, everyone! This time, even Primordial Invincible was a little dumbfounded. He had just regained control of his weapon and said something to provoke Chi Dalii, and he won just like that? And it was 2 wins in a row. Was the Qian Kuan sect going to rely on the Thousand Blades faction? Lin rubbed his forehead. This great elder of the Ruins Town was also a talent. It was a waste that he didn't become a stand-up comedian. There was obviously no one else who could do this in Black Whistle. It was more reasonable to directly announce that the Thousand Blades faction had become one of the 4 major factions. Fortunately, the fact that Chi Dalii had colluded with the Awakening Heaven faction had already offended all the sections. As for the great elder of the Ruins Town's actions, they unanimously praised him. In any case, if Primordial Invincible really fought, he would definitely be able to kill Chi Dalii in a second. "My friend, can you take us to find our young royal family member now?" The clown sea serpent was not interested in human affairs at all, so he asked Lin about the blue flood dragon's whereabouts. Lin couldn't be bothered with the matters of the 4 great challenges anymore. Since the dust had already settled, it was time to take some time to deal with the central problem. Since the clown sea serpent asked, Lin went straight to the point and said, "The members of your royal family are now in the central laboratory in K. Luo Mountain. They have become the gene supply source for the Central to improve the strength of their subordinates. However, it will be more troublesome for you to go there. Why don't you wait here and I'll go rescue your royal family members and hand them over to you." "Where is K. Luo Mountain? Is it very far?" the clown sea serpent asked doubtfully. In fact, compared to the endless sea, the land in the immemorial underworld only occupied a very small part. In terms of distance, it really couldn't compare to the clown sea serpent and the others. Lin smiled and said, "It's not far, but if I use a flying spirit beast to travel, it will take me a day to go back and forth. You guys can't use flying spirit beasts either. If you go by land, I'm afraid the blue flood dragon won't be able to wait for you guys to rescue him." The clown sea serpent felt that it made sense, but he was a little worried about Lin going alone, so he asked worriedly, "Are you going alone? Can you handle it?" If it was the Lin in the endless sea, it would indeed be impossible. That was why Lin had asked the clown sea serpent to gather an army of sea beasts. However, there was no need for that now. After comprehending the method of using his divine sense to activate his martial skills, Lin Yi's strength was enough to run amok in the immemorial underworld. "Don't worry, you just stay here and help me protect my friends in case those guys attack them again. I'll be responsible for bringing the members of your royal family back. Is that a deal?" Lin Yi's confident look made the clown sea serpent involuntarily believe him. Moreover, with the 400 to 500 nascent soul stage experts that had just been eliminated, the strength of the center should have been greatly affected. The army of sea beasts really didn't need to follow Lin anymore. After convincing the clown sea serpent, Lin called Invincible, Primordial, Exenigia, and Shangguan Qingyan over and instructed them to deal with the aftermath of the immemorial convention. Then Lin summoned a flying spirit beast and soared into the sky with Yu flying towards K. Luo Mountain. After half a day, K. Luo Mountain was already in sight. Yu controlled the flying spirit beast to fly to Lin Yi's side and said, "Master, the center's base is about to arrive. They have a very magical tool that can monitor the situation outside from inside the base, especially in the sky. Should we land first and then sneak over?" Lin was startled, but then he understood that Yu was talking about the monitoring device in the secular world. This kind of thing that was already common in the secular world had indeed become a mysterious and powerful tool in the immemorial underworld. Since the center could even make flying saucers and alloy armors, it was very normal for them to install some monitoring devices. There was nothing strange about it. No need, we'll directly attack. Lin Yi smiled faintly. His expression was full of strong confidence. Xue Jianfeng and Qin Dongqing, two profound ascending stage cultivators, were nothing to Lin Yi, not to mention that these two might not be able to return alive. In addition to the 400 to 500 nascent soul stage cultivators killed by the sea beasts, Lin Yi did not think that the center's base would have much resistance. Yu Yi obviously thought of this as well, thinking that this was an opportunity to perform well. If he could get Lin Yi to help him level up a few more times, he might be able to get rid of Lin Yi's control soon. Master, then let's see Yu Yi's performance. Let Yu Yi open the door to victory for Master first. Yu Yi patted his chest with an indomitable attitude, then commanded the flying spirit beast to accelerate forward, pulling away from Lin Yi. Lin Yi did not care about him. Anyway, with Yu Yi's strength in the early stage of profound ascending stage, it would not be so easy for the center to threaten him. After a while, Yu Yi, who was flying in front, controlled the flying spirit beast to dive down, and at the same time he released all the martial techniques that he had prepared. Looking from afar, the ice-attributed martial technique was sparkling and translucent. It had a gorgeous beauty to it. However, Yu Yi's actions had already been discovered by the central base. So, when Yu Yi attacked, the central base's defense system had already been activated. After a few consecutive laser beams shattered Yu Yi's attack, they continued to chase after him. Fortunately, Yu Yi's flying spirit beast was also quite agile. After dodging it easily, it continued to rush down. Chapter 5632. Thinking of this, Yu Yi suddenly felt that he was stupid again. Why did he rush to the front? He should have let Lin Yi be the shield. As for what he thought before, well, that wasn't important anymore. Yu Yi, who was about to rush to the ground, wanted to turn around and find Lin Yi to let Lin Yi have a taste of the center's laser weapons. However, 5 people in alloy armor suddenly flew out from the base. Laser weapons needed to be charged and couldn't be fired continuously. Therefore, in this gap, soldiers were needed to fill in the gaps in the defense. These 5 people in alloy armor were the guards arranged by the center. When Yu Yi saw this, he had an excuse to escape. He hurriedly pulled the flying spirit beast up and desperately flew towards Lin Yi. Although he hadn't officially tried it, Yu Yi had stayed in the center for a while. He knew that he was definitely not a match for this kind of alloy armor. Even if he could deal with it, he should let Lin Yi block the bullets. Master, the attack power below is too strong. Let's run. Yu Yi pretended to be panicking and led the 5 people in alloy armor over. With the propulsion of the flying device, the speed of the 5 people in alloy armor wasn't slower than the flying spirit beast. Moreover, while chasing from behind, the 5 people opened the laser guns on their arms and aimed at Yu Yi and his flying spirit beast. Lin Yi didn't care about Yu Yi's little thoughts. These 5 people in alloy armor were indeed too strong for Yu Yi. It was normal for him to run if he couldn't beat them. He wasn't stupid. Without waiting for the 5 people to fire their laser guns, Lin Yi directly used his martial arts skill and attracted 5 lightning bolts. At the same time, the 5 alloy armors that were emitting black smoke and sparks suddenly lost their power and fell from the sky. After 5 loud bangs, they disappeared into the forest below. The dumbfounded Yu Yi shouted in his heart, F***K. How could I forget that little bastard Lin Yi is the easiest to deal with these stupid iron skins. I miscalculated. I should perform well first, and then let little bastard Lin Yi increase my strength for me. Yu Yi, who instantly changed his mind again, changed his direction and rushed towards the entrance of the base. As he flew, he did not forget to shout, Master is mighty. These small fries are really not enough. Master, let's see Yu Yi's performance next. Let Yu open the door to victory for Master. Before he finished speaking, the laser weapon that had finished charging launched a second round of attacks. Yu immediately burst into tears. You guys are all shills that little bastard Lin found, right? Why can't you let me follow the script properly for once? After dodging the second wave of attacks, Lin flew to Yu's side. Good job, he said faintly. 1,000 thunderbolts explosion. Countless thunderbolts raged down. Except for Yu, who was next to Lin, the other places were almost covered with thunderbolts. The laser weapon device that had exposed its position was completely turned into a pile of scrap metal under the dense thunderbolts. The entrance of the base also slowly opened because of the failure of the electronic device. The door to victory is really open. Let's go. Lin said in a flat tone with a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. He was the first to jump off the flying spirit beast and enter the central base. Yu smiled twice and thought to himself, this is all my credit. Otherwise, how could you find their position? Seeing that Lin Yi's figure had disappeared into the entrance, Yu felt that it was impossible to trap Lin. So, it was better to perform well and have a better future. So, he also hurriedly jumped off the flying spirit beast and rushed in behind Lin. After entering the central base, Lin Yi's divine sense spread out and covered all the space of the base in an instant. It was much more effective than any surveillance. To be honest, Lin was still very surprised by the means of the center. Not to mention anything else. Just this base full of sci-fi atmosphere could be built and put into use in a short period of time. It was already very amazing, not to mention that they actually made continuous breakthroughs in research. Even the profound ascension stage could be promoted. In the future, it would definitely be a big problem for Lin. After sweeping the entire base with divine sense, Lin Yi's expression changed. He found that in a control room, Defeng had killed several people in a row and was now turning off some switches. It turns out that Defeng is also here. No wonder there seems to be no defensive measures after coming in. It should be shut down by Defeng. Lin smiled and muttered. His figure flashed and quickly came to the room where Defeng was. Boss Lin, long time no see. Defeng turned around and said with a little excitement, Defeng, it's been hard on you these days. Lin smiled warmly and patted Defeng's shoulder. He nodded and said, Not bad, you're already foundation establishment perfection. It seems like you're doing well here. Defeng laughed a few times and said, It's all right. Currently, the medicine that the center is researching can only be upgraded to foundation establishment perfection without any side effects. However, people like me are just for show. I don't have much combat power. Boss Lin, the people around you are more powerful. Lin thought that Wu Qintian, Songlingshan, and the others were probably not as strong as him. In order to let them have a solid foundation, Lin did not casually upgrade them. Instead, he let them train on their own. Defeng, did you see me here, so you helped me? Lin asked casually. His divine sense didn't detect any more people in the base. As expected, Xue Jianfeng and Chen Dongqing took away most of the combat power. Defeng smiled and nodded. That's right. It's because there are no more people in the base that I had this opportunity. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to move around. You're not in charge of this base, are you? Lin asked curiously. The location of the blue dragon was confirmed. It wasn't in any danger at the moment, so Lin was in no hurry to go. He continued to chat with Defeng. Of course not. To put it bluntly, I'm just the head of security. Defeng had nothing to hide. He pointed at the complicated control panel and said, Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to control these devices. The person in charge here is Glasses, one of the higher-ups in the center. He received the signal that Xue Jianfeng's flying saucer had crashed, so he went to rescue them. That's how I got the opportunity.